before Saturday. Our answers to the questions and everything.
Hello, everybody. Tom, this is how we start the show, you see. When I say we're going to go live, then you stop talking about the other things we're talking about before the show starts.
But no. You didn't say we're going live. That's all I'm saying. Hey, folks.
I did. Hi. If it's Wednesday, it must be Warhammer. There we go. All right, so we can do a clean one. Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. So I'm here with my co-host and person who, after nearly 10 years, still does not know how this works. Tom, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, friends. How's it going? I'm glad to be here with everybody today.
Yeah. So Tom and I, you want to have the answer, Tom, to your completely unrelated question that no one else who's watching this will get, is you should have your story in to Bex like immediately, because Bex is trying to use that to then create the campaign we're about to play. Okay. So like you should write that tomorrow. See, we all the other players have already turned our stuff in. Hey everyone, we're going to be talking about Warhammer today. Specifically, we're going to do a little grab bag of AoS stuff, all sorts of fun things, but of course also first, some news.
Let's talk about that rumor engine. Yeah,
it's
folks.
It's a 40k thing. I don't care. Next.
No, it's a rod. It could be other things. Like it could be other stuff, right?
It's
hypothetically
40k thing. It's a 40k thing.
Okay, that's fine. There's a preview coming this next weekend.
There we go.
Not this weekend. The weekend after.
Wednesday, specifically. Wednesday for us. Thursday, technically, for the other part of the world. Yes, the show next Wednesday will be live from Nova, of course. I will round up as many people as I can to participate in the chicanery, the post-show review. We'll see if this one's going to be another experiment in testing my sanity and torture. Are they going to lock us in a hot room for an hour and a half while they force us to watch videos like some kind of cult indoctrination? We'll find out. So let's hope not. Just show me the 15-minute preview and then shut up. That's fine. That's all I need. Okay? Put the videos up of the designers talking, because I like those, and let me watch them from the comfort of my hotel room or your own chair later on in the evening, like sane people would do. Not trap 2,000 people in a room, sweaty nerds, as you drone on in between, forcing me to watch the background on potentially multiple things I don't give a crap about. So, anyways, let's see what happens. Anyways, yeah, but I'm excited for the preview. I mean, I do think we're going to get like legitimately some good stuff. I'm sure at the minimum, we'll see the Stormcast and Skaven and all of that kind of stuff. So that's cool. You know, obviously we already saw a bunch of the rats, but like we'll see the book more and get more details. And they said there's going to be a roadmap. That's what's important. I want to see the roadmap. How many books are we going to get? There's no reason they couldn't just tell us the books through like
the next year.
Through the next year. Yeah. Yeah. So like, you know, let's do it.
There's no way that happens. It'd be wonderful if they did, but there's no way that happens.
You know, they'll do the whole, oh, these are the real books, and then this is the next one, and this is the next one, and then this is an order one, and then this is just like a mystery piece of art. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
So,
yep. This is our spoiler season now. This is what it looks like. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, I just want to point out that like when Magic does their roadmap, right? When they did that, they were like, this is the next like 9 sets where this is the world we're going to and what we're doing. Boom, 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 down the line into 2025, right?
Right. Well, it was even more than that. It was like, here's the next 18 months.
Yeah. It was a real roadmap, like actually a real roadmap. Yes.
Wouldn't that be amazing if GW were confident enough about its product that it would just share that with us?
I mean, it's truly people in glass houses throwing stones back and forth if we're going to make comparisons between those two companies, but that's fine. You know, like it's I am interested to see what they come up with. I look forward to the preview. I hope there will be some cool things. There we go.
Yep.
What's next?
so we have this like primer series,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's
The
this.
40K
I don't have
primer
an
series.
image for this, but
Yeah,
it's called like Secret Level or something like that. I don't remember. So
Love,
it's a
Death,
new.
and Robots.
Yeah, it's from the people who did Love, Death, and Robots. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's on Prime, and which is weird because like obviously they did that on um, uh, Netflix or whatever. It's a good series. I liked it.
Right. Right.
Everybody else's favorite episode is like my least favorite episode, though. I'm pretty sure. I really there's the episode in season 2 with the conquistadors in the woods, and everybody thinks it's like the most amazing thing ever, and I really hated it. Like I really hated it. I thought it was god awful. But anyways, the like obviously for me it was the 3 robots walking around the ruins of humanity, just talking and like having a conversation. That was the funniest one to me. Anywho, it's a video game anthology, so it's like shorts within like, well, games, video games, whatever, within game worlds. So there's like Mega Man is going to be in there and a bunch of other stuff, God of War, I guess, I think, and so on, and then there'll be the and then there's Warhammer 40K, Space Marine stuff. You saw Space Marine stuff, so okay. It's always Warhammer 40K, but it's neat. It's cool. Like it's in the popular culture. Could be the first step to like people thinking it was cool and having real funding be behind a real show. So I dream someday of like an AoS show. You know, like I do think it's a rich world that you can tell some really amazing stories in.
Do you really think? I don't know, man. I don't even know what an AOS show would be like.
It'd be easy. You could do like 10 different versions of the show. Honestly, it wouldn't be that hard. You could do a gritty ground level Callus and Toll show. You could do like or a Witch Hunter type show. You could do a singular character piece that starts with a sort of barbarian type of thing who then like regains their conscience and becomes a Stormcast. Like that, you could do that hero's journey. Like that would be doable. Like basically what Vandus was before he became Vandus, right? You could do a very like god type show. Like you could do something like if you watch The Blood of Zeus, like that's epic fantasy, right? Where you have like the direct son of a god being the protagonist of a story, and like the gods are just regularly part of it, and their machinations and them bouncing off of each other and then catching the mortals in between them is like you have a viewpoint protagonist who is like a demigod, right? But amongst gods, then whatever. So you could pick like any of a million characters and sort of shove them into that mix, right? A powerful Stormcast or some elf hero or whatever, right? Or a couple of them. Like all of those would be fine. And then we're not even close. Like we could keep going. I could pitch these all day.
I don't know. Like when was the last time that you like? Are you imagining an animation or are you imagining a live action?
Yeah, animation. Yeah. I'd rather just be animated. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
You can do it. Like if you want to throw a cool 10 million an episode at me, I'll like let's do a live action show. But like no, I mean it's animated. Like why would you not just draw it? Animation's a lot of work, but it's and those people deserve to be paid and given the appropriate time to work. But it's still a hell of a lot easier than doing like sets and live action and stuff like that.
Well, and I agree. Like my challenge with something like live action is I don't know that a kitchen sink fantasy sci-fi-ish setting, because I mean that's really what you're talking about, has ever been successful in any live action property. Like I can't think of a single property that's done that well.
I don't even know if there is any that have existed, but okay, like really,
like He-Man or something, right? Like,
yeah, but He-Man's always been. What are you talking about? The Golan and Globus like live action movie with Dolph Lundgren? Like that had $10 behind it, and it was done like 3 years after He-Man was popular.
My point being, there's a lot of like kitchen sink style IP out there, but nothing has ever kind of come to screen live action, which is why like I can't imagine them doing something like AOS live action.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, eat KFC, fight in the streets, yeah. Always set it on Earth. Stormcast walking around New York City, yeah. Like, sure. I mean, I think if you are telling me you think it's too weird for the normies to get into it, okay? Right? If that's the story. I think that's what most executives probably think. Because you, like most executives, has fallen into a trap that the subject matter matters even a little to the success of a show. It does not matter for crap. If I had went around to most people 5 years ago or whatever and said, do you like period dramas set in, alternative Edwardian London, the vast majority of people would have said, no, that sounds boring. I don't watch that masterpiece theater crap. Okay? And then Bridgerton came out, and because the story's good and they bone all the time, everybody and their brother watched that show, and it's the new obsession of half of America. Okay? If you ask people 15 years ago, do you want a show where there are dragons and brothers and sisters sleeping with each other and regicide and every other nonsense thing? People would have been like, no, I don't go in for that dumb fantasy crap. I liked Lord of the Rings, I guess. It was okay, but that's all dumb. And then Game of Thrones came out, and because they murder somebody in every episode and bone left and right, guess what? It's popular. The threads here are one, tell a good story. 2, bone all the time. 3, kill people. Do some it's the iron triangle of success in television. Do 2 of those 3 things with one of these shows, and you will be successful.
So it has to have Slaanesh. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm just saying. Like, the setting is irrelevant, is my point. Like, they could do all this, but most TV executives are far too risk-averse and have far too small of imaginations. And won't pay good writers to come in, right? And just actually write a good story here. Yeah, exactly. Like, thank you, Odd Minis. Like, do you think that, like, Iron Man and Thor and Black Widow could make a movie that makes $1 billion? How about, like, 4 of them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, no, it's, again, it's they're never a thing until they're a thing, right? That's the Black Swan paradox. So there you go. The soothsayer says bone all the time. OBR has entered the chat. Yeah, exactly. I said 15 years ago for Game of Thrones. I said 15 years ago if you would ask people. I know Game of Thrones came out 13 years ago. That's why I said 15.
Yeah. Yep.
Indeed. Anywho. So anyways, I hope it someday happens. I hope I live. Look, when I was young, we would fantasy cast, X-Men and stuff in the school lunch line, and talk about how much we'd love to see it, but never thinking it actually be possible.
Wizard magazine in Quest.
Yeah, magazine. and it happened in my lifetime, so this could happen too. You never know. There you go.
We'll see. We'll see. In other news, we got the final announcement for the new Warhammer Plus models.
Yeah, I got the fantasy guys here, because those are the ones obviously we would care about. Yep. What do you think of these guys? My response exactly. I don't like these guys.
I wanted to like them. Like, if I'm honest, I like the Cities of Sigmar aesthetic, but none of the bonus models they've released, like that Raven Knight they released is like a convention-specific one and all that, none of it has grabbed me. 0. Like, these guys are almost interesting with, like, Paunchy, Witch Hunter, and Old Guy Squire. I don't know. Like, I just...
Oh, no, I don't like these minis at all. I don't like their aesthetic. It's like bags and pouches on bags and pouches on bags and pouches. Like, it is too busy. There's too much going on. It's not visually compelling. Like, I just, no, I'm definitely anti this. Also, they both have weird faces.
Yep. I'd have to do a definite head swap on one, if not both of them.
Yeah, and I know, by the way, the Lord does come with an alternative helmeted head, like the actual.
Yeah, it's also stupid. Guy. Like, it needs to be a Witch Hunter head.
Yeah.
Yep.
Morton Orlando says they look like Witcher bad guys. Intricate but uninteresting. Oh, that's great. That's really great.
What do you think about the 40K ones? I know that they're not here. And the one dude that literally looks like a straight xenomorph. Like, it looks like a straight rip-off mechanical xenomorph.
Yeah, it didn't grab me either. I mean, they're better than this, honestly, but neither of them were that yay. They certainly, I mean, like, I think Warhammer Plus is already like a joke, and I cannot believe that like, no offense to GW, but I can't believe anybody subscribes to that still. and the you know, like, realistically, this certainly wouldn't inspire me to give my dollars over either. So
Yeah.
Assistant Ref said ChatGPT adds 7 containers to each of these models. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The one dude has like containers that he's got containers in. He's got multiple. It's containerception. So,
Indeed.
yeah, that's gonna be a no from me, dog. Cute. Give me something cool. It ain't this. This ain't it, boss. But I mean, like, if it's for you, if you like this aesthetic, I'm good with it as always. Like what you like.
It's fine. Like it doesn't motivate me, but it's fine.
Yeah,
the
I
main
mean, look,
guy,
aesthetics are always
the
personal.
Squire guy, I don't know what he's doing. Like, he's holding a pistol by a barrel and a vial.
I mean, Charles and Battle Barn are both pretty here for these, so that's fine. If this grabs you, then I'm glad for you. I look at that dude's like squished. Is he a cat? Why is his face like that? He looks like Lion-O with his cat face because the lines are so deep and dark on his face. Like, he seriously looks like he's a cat. Like, he's in the movie Cats. Like, he immediately rushed from the stage play Cats to come and join the battlefield. Okay. All right. I've made enough jokes. If you like it, you like it. It's all good. Everybody like what they like.
Maybe it's like a mold line that they highlighted wrong.
I just think it's overdone on the face. Okay. All right. What's next, Tom? Is it the big FAQ?
I mean, like, that's not a news item, but sure.
Let's do it. I think it's news.
Like, we're doing it as part of the show, right? Like,
we're doing it as part of the news. It's going to be in the news section because it's
okay.
News. So as of today, we got our first. Let's call it the first FAQ, big FAQ, whatever, or something. It's like the 30-day FAQ, right? I mean, I understand there's been previous clarifications.
Yep.
There was like a day 1 FAQ, but that was just like sort of emergency fixes. But this still isn't a battle scroll, so we're not talking balance stuff here. I would imagine that will come at the 3-month mark, right? Yep. So we've got what we're hunting for here now is the new, updated, or deleted, these little tags. So cities, nothing. Daughters, nothing. Fireslayers, nothing. Idneth, nothing. Lumineth, nothing. Seraphon. Salon Starmaster. Okay. I don't know what changed. This is my problem with this. Do you know what changed? I don't have the original one up. What changed about the salon, Tom? What do you think?
Did the points change?
It's a great question, right? What did change, huh? That's what I wanted to get to this point with this format because I love this, where we'd come to it and it'd be like, okay, there's a dot. And like, I get it. But like, you couldn't include something that said maybe what did happen before or whatever. But anyways, here's the, is it the base size? It's the base size. Nice.
Oh,
here, I brought up the old one
that's scandalous.
Let's take a look here. The original. Sorry, I need to shrink this down. There we go. Okay. Zoopy. Seraphon. Where are we at here? Salon Starmaster. 50 mil round. Yeah, that's not right.
That's weird.
Okay. Are they all just base sizes? Is that what everything is? The Knight Zephyros? Are they all just base size changes?
And that dude's going to Legends next year.
40 mil. No, Knight Zephyros. 1 for 130. He'll move to Legends.
0 to 1 Gryph-hound or Vanguard Chamber.
Knight Zephyros 1 for 130. Vanguard, move to Legends. 40 mil. I don't even see what changed. What am I missing? Did I miss something here?
Weird.
Oh, Vanguard Chamber instead of Warrior Chamber Infantry. Got it. He had the wrong regiment. Boy, you really got to dig for it. Anyways, I'm not going to go through these because most of them are completely irrelevant. Stuff like that, it's just cleanup. Like, the reality is almost all of these little ones in here are just cleanup stuff. So, you know, like, there's a bunch of little changes like that, but it's whatever.
Interesting.
And they still didn't fix the thing they should fix, which is Scarbrand should be any corn. Like, he just should. He shouldn't be just demons. So
that's interesting.
I mean, all the other greater demons are like that. All the other named greater demons can take anything from their faction, because mortals and demons, you know, both follow them, right? So I assume all that's just base sizes or regiment changes. I don't really care. We're gonna scroll down here to the reasonable stuff, which is the actual like updates. Don't care about legends. Here we go. Okay, let's get into the updated rules, because that's actually what's relevant. Okay.
Companion updated.
What's that? Yeah. I'm just catching up on the chat. Here we go. Magakin got some regiment changes. Eternus got changes to his regiment. Yeah, exactly. Yes, I agree, Peppo. He said also the regular Thirsters. It'd be cool if they could do the same, because in other armies, the non-named demons as well. Yeah, I would support that. I'm just saying, like, at minimum, Scarbrand should be any corn. At minimum. Right? But at any rate, let's talk about the actual rules changes. So, companion weapon ability 2, unless otherwise specified. This weapon is not affected by friendly abilities that affect weapon characteristics or the attack sequence, except for those that apply negative modifiers to it. Oops.
I love that people were arguing that, like, they wouldn't take penalties to hit from, like, cover fire or cover fire because it's a friendly ability.
Right. I mean, companion is probably wrong-headed in and of itself. Like, they needed something they could slap around. Like, not everything should have it. Why does the big thunder tusk under an ogre, why can't it get bonuses? It's a big monster of its own right. Like, companion just means you suck as a weapon ability in this edition.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. There's already almost no synergy for monster type stuff.
Yeah.
And they could have just used a keyword for, like, horses and things like that they were trying to stop from getting better, and I would have been fine with it. But okay, whatevs. All right, so core rules, some new stuff. Abilities. Some abilities, all out attack, have a red timing bar. Can these abilities only be used in the combat phase? Like, no, of course not. Come on, people. Just blah, blah, blah. Clarifications on timing. And then let's see here. If my opponent uses a reaction, e.g. all out attack, I pass on using a reaction, and then my opponent uses a second reaction, like a faction-specific ability, could I then use a reaction, or have I missed my chance because I passed the first time? You could use a reaction. It's the stack, people. Like, if they react to themselves, you can still drop right on top of the stack. It's fine. The stack is open. I cannot wait.
To the reaction.
Sure. Tom, how long until we get split second?
I don't know. I can't imagine.
Which book has split second?
Tzeentch.
Okay. That's your call? For those who don't know, so in Magic, the stack is just this back and forth sequence of reactions, right? And that's what Warhammer's finally just built. But there's an ability called Split Second you can give a card, and when a card has Split Second, when it goes on the stack, it closes the stack. You effectively can't put anything else on it.
You can't react to it until it resolves.
Correct. So the stack has to clear before new priority is given and new actions can be taken. At any rate, it's just like an inevitability that Warhammer's going to do the same thing eventually. They'll have somebody like Lumineth, Tzeentch, Seraphon. I would have believed any of those as the answer, by the way, who will get split second. So, okay.
For Tzeentch, it's all according to plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, there's so many good arguments for any three of those. Like, the great plan of the Seraphon can't be interrupted. Tzeentch saw it coming. LRL are just too fast, and they've got LV powers. Like, whatever. There's lots of
LV powers.
Yeah.
LV alacrity.
Yeah, That's a Malekith ability. I could see that. Okay. Picking targets. When making shooting attacks, can all the models in the attacking unit shoot, even if the target unit is not visible to some of those models? No. Only the things you can see can shoot. Same as like range or anything. Then
this guy.
This thing.
This guy.
This is the one. This is the one, folks. We can't, like, most of these FAQs, okay, are just like, whatever. They're whatever, honestly. Yeah. They're just clarity.
Yep.
This one bent my brain sideways. Then we get to this. Incorrect answer. All right, I'm gonna read this straight. If an ability allows a unit, go ahead.
Go back to drawing board. Like, yeah, reading this is just like, nope, go back, write it again.
FAQ for the FAQ. 17.0, the attack sequence. If an ability allows a unit to score critical hits on unmodified rolls of 5+, but that unit needs a 6 to hit, e.g. as a result of subtracting 1 from hit rolls, would unmodified hit rolls of 5 hit the target? If so, would they still trigger any critical hit effects? So I need a 6 to hit, but I rolled a 5. Okay? This should have been the easiest answer in the world. This was really an easy slam dunk.
But if you crit on 5+.
Uh-huh. So, answer. Although the hits would count as critical hits, the attacks would not score a successful hit, as the attack sequence ends if an attack fails. Okay? Effects such as crit 2 hits or crit auto wound would have no effect. I was with you. I was reading this and I was like, well, okay.
No, like, they could have ended this after the first sentence. Like, if they had they left out the last 2 sentences, it would be perfection.
However, effects that are resolved immediately, such as crit mortal, would still be triggered by those critical hits.
But they're not hits.
I'm sorry.
They're not critical hits because they don't hit on 5.
I'm sorry, what now? What is this? Okay. Huh? I mean, this is like the dumbest answer. I don't know that it matters that much, okay? Because I'm trying to figure out what the overlap is between things that hit on, that could even, like, obviously you cap at -1 to hit, right? You can never get more than -1, right? And, like, you have 2 main armies that can crit on 5s for crit mortals, which is Cruel Boys and Lumineth. Lumineth are basically 3-ups across the board to hit because they're elves, right? And so, like, they're never going to get there.
This is really only, the math here is only actually ever modifying Cruel Boys.
Well, and Cruel Boys are basically on 4s to hit across the line for all of their people who are going to go crit mortal, right? They don't. I don't think they have any base 5s. So
no,
I don't think it would
not that are crit
matter.
mortal. No, I take that back. What about the goblins?
The little Hobgrot Slittas though don't have. I don't remember what their hit or wound is, but they don't have crit mortal.
But they get crit mortal on their shooting attacks with that named character.
Oh, with the
guy.
So
maybe in that instance you could create a situation where they're only hitting on 6s. Like, so I could imagine an instance where they cover fire with their 5s to hit, and maybe I'm wrong on 5s to hit, but off the top of my head,
I'm looking right now.
I seem to remember that might be an instance where they can move to 6s to hit, but still have crits of 5 if they're near us. No, but
their ranged weapons hit on 4s. As do their little knives. Yep. It's all 4s to hit.
Then who is this actually applying to?
I think the situation where it would apply is there's a couple of weird odd cases where it says X attack can only hit on a 6. Okay. So if
like the IDK item, or is it an item or a spell?
Yeah. So like if you happen to overlap those 2 abilities, that's a good one. That's a good call. What about Spider Fang?
No,
they have a way to go 5-up crits?
Those are auto wound. Those are auto wound though. Those are not crit mortals.
I thought their little bites were crit mortals.
They are crit mortals on the mount.
So they are, but they're also 4-up to hit. So again, yeah.
Well, and not only that, they can't get to crit 5-ups, or maybe they can get to crit 5-ups.
There's a way. I'm pretty sure there's a way to get them to crit 5-up, but I just don't think it matters. Anyways, the point is, it would have to be the overlap between you're only hit on a 6, because I can't think of anything that has crit mortals that hits on 5s. If somebody has an example of something that hits on 5's base and has crit mortals, please put it in the chat.
And can get to 5-up crits.
Right.
Because it's not just they have to have a base 5-up. They have to have crit mortals,
and they have to be able to crit on a 5. Yes.
And they have to be able to crit on a 5, which that's almost never on the same war scroll. Like, you're using another faction ability to give yourself 5-up crits rather than being base 5-up crits.
Yeah. But anyways, there's a couple of items and defensive items and things like that, or things that say like you can only hit on a 6. So if a group of juiced up Dawn Riders came in and attacked them, they would still do mortals on 5s against that thing, which is even though they only hit on 6. Which is truly completely nonsensical.
This is truly like a hypothetical philosopher musing. Not actually that's anything grounded in the game.
Yeah. So anyways, let's not belabor this anymore. It's a dumb answer. You should strike it from the record and just say, no, if you don't hit, you don't hit. In any time of D&D where you crit on like a 19 to 20 or an 18 to 20 or a 15 to 20 or whatever the insane number you could get to over the time of Dungeons and Dragons, if you needed a 20 to hit and you rolled a 19, you missed. It wouldn't matter if it was a crit. You just missed. All right. At any rate. Okay. Strike first and strike last. This was these two abilities. This is just explaining, we've talked about this before on the show. These two are just explaining the timings of pulling people in. Yep. Right? Like if you pull a unit in, you cannot pull them in to strike first. So the only time that will work is if that unit that's pulling is the bridge, is the last strike first, and then you're going directly to activating in the normal sequence. So that unit becomes the first activation of the normal timing sequence.
I'm so thankful to have this ruling. I had somebody at my RTT that I was at 2 weeks ago be like, nope, they pull, they can pull them into the strike first. And I was like, I am pretty sure that is not the case. And
it was always clear, by the way, in the strike first rules, if you read the timing on the sidebar.
Like, yeah. There's a sidebar, right? And I remember it was in there, but like I was in the middle of a match and I didn't have time to like pull out the rules and actually am. So I was like, that's fine, whatever. Like I'll just strike last this guy into the other one. But
yeah,
it was frustrating to me.
If you have a unit that if the unit does not have strikes first, it cannot fight when strikes first units are still activating. If a unit does not have strikes last, it cannot fight when other strikes last units are activating, and so on.
Yep.
You can only fight in the appropriate sort of sub-phase of what ability you currently have at that moment. So, like, obviously the problem is if you're the active player and the inactive player, you both have a strike first effect, then your chain effect is wasted because they can't pull them in.
Yep.
So, that's it. Okay. Goofy and weird, but it is that one at least is like sensibly there in the rules.
Right. It was already clear in the rules. They're just calling it out clear in the FAQ.
Yes, I did read this ruling, Sexy Bear. So here the question is, if a friendly unit is the only unit that has strike first on the battlefield and it has an ability that allows a friendly unit to fight immediately after it, in what order would units be picked to fight? So what it's saying here is you're the active player, you use your strike first unit, no one else has strike first unit goes. You then pass into normal activations. They can pull in their immediate, so then that person activates for free in the normal phase. Then it actually comes time for you to choose a unit to activate, right?
Right.
So you can fight 3 times with using one of those immediate activations. If unit A has strike first and your opponent does not have any, and you don't have any other strike first to activate after this, then it's a free activation. Okay. Yep. And yes, it's not using your choice. You still select another one after the activation, right? But you've got to watch the bridge, basically. Okay. So, yeah. There you go. Blah, blah, blah. Can companion weapons be affected? No, really, we want to. No, they suck. Just accept it. And then a clarification on the once per timings that we've deep dived into in this show before and how sort of perfidious it is and annoying. Yes. Anyways, faction terrain. What was the thing that was updated here? Oh, it's the unit, right? Like, yeah. If anything removes them, they lose the bonuses because it wasn't clear before. So, like, somebody could be sort of, for various and sundry reasons, teleported out of a piece of faction terrain, and then they were still claiming that the thing applies. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It does not. Obviously, they left the tower. You don't get to be in the tower. If you leave your elvish mech suit, you don't get to still be in the elvish mech suit. And then just kind of a clarification on the way spells worked and casting rolls and unbinding and stuff like that. That's fine. If an ability modifies a run roll, does that modify the roll made with a redeploy ability? No, obviously not. They're two different types of rolls. I mean, like, again, the rules were there. That one was fairly clear. It's just a clarification. People were hoping. Can a unit use the covering fire command after redeploy? Yes. Can you redeploy? Yes. Can you countercharge? No. Why? Because, for reasons, they decided to make these two different abilities in how they are construed. And so, like, the way it's covering fire does not say use the shoot ability. It says use this different ability that does not have a restriction on running, on having used a run ability, like the normal shoot ability does. Whereas countercharge says use the charge ability that does have a restriction on being able to use it if you ran. Why they decided to write those two differently? I have no answers. I can't explain that. For consistency, they should have just been the same thing. Yes, Eric. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. There's the clarification on power through. Nope, we really meant it. You can't go through models. We know it's called power through. We named it that because it seemed like a cool thing to name it, but you cannot, in fact, power through anything. You have to power around it. So that's fine. Let's see, then clarification on like being wholly on and behind terrain, the point to point, a couple things on that. And then, yeah, the clarifications on cover, which is fine. I'm not going to go into that too deeply. It's fine. It's whatever. Magic. Okay, if a unit has multiple power levels, e.g. a hero that is both a wizard and a priest, and another ability modifies that unit's power level, e.g. the Witchbrain Curse Prayer, which power level does it modify? If that ability only targets wizards or only targets priests, it modifies the corresponding power level. If it could target either or does not specify, it modifies both. What an answer. What an answer. But okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what this is affecting.
Like, who is this giving? Who is this working on? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Yeah, like who is exploiting this ruling here? Because it has to be few and far in between.
Yeah,
like
I don't.
Maybe the places of power, the arcane places of power, or whatever.
Don't they just add +1 to cast? I don't think they add to your power level.
Yeah, it's just +1 to cast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, obviously you could have a wizard give many of the various and sundry priest artifacts, but then I don't know who's got the full synergy to then have a generic ability that affects both. Right. Like, there are lots of ways to make both wizards and priests. It's just I don't know who then also has a generic ability that's just like +1 power level.
Yeah.
That then, like, it would make you a 2 in both. So I'm not sure who's benefiting from that actual, like, true corner of the corner case, right? Yeah. Are manifestations affected by friendly abilities that would normally affect units, e.g. those that give units the ward keyword? No, except for those permitted in Magic 7.0 and those that specifically affect manifestations, such as banish manifestations. Okay. We'll talk about manifestations in a little while.
Checks out.
Sure, it's fine. When using an Army of Renown, can I pick a faction terrain feature to include on my roster? Yes, unless that Army of Renown's rules specifically state that you cannot include the faction terrain feature. Okay, that's cool. It's fine. No issue with that. Good clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Little manifestation changes here, Tom. Launch on the Soul Seeker, no combat. Suffocating Gravetide, no end in combat. Purple Son of Shaiish, no end in combat. Aether Void Pendulum actually works now. Still garbage, but can mathematically actually work.
You ran that this last weekend, didn't you?
I didn't cast it once. I used Aether Wrought Machinery. I never cast the Pendulum because it is math. It was, up until this FAQ, mathematically impossible for it to affect a model. So
amazing.
Yeah, like kind of a miss on that one. Like they wrote it and like just apparently never tested it because it was
no one ever played it.
Actually mathematically impossible for it to affect a unit. But whatever. That's fine. Now it can. It's still bad, and the opponent could just be like, if I don't want to get hit by the pendulum, I'll just move. Like, they just walk to the side a half inch, and that's it. Immune to pendulum. I have disrupted your plans. Yeah, pendulum's dumb. It's terrible. It needs to move like a lot more than that if it's ever going to do anything ever. Real
18
bad.
inches. Go.
Also, Purple Sun and Gravetide, like these little mini changes, they have to hit Morbid harder in the battle scroll because this changes nothing.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I would still like Morbid is still the most powerful by far. Period. End of story. Okay. Some individual army stuff. Cities, the clarification that you can't stack the move order multiple times, which good.
Yep.
That was dumb.
That makes sense.
Tom, you might know this one. To change the timing of the Rune of Relentless Zeal to once per battle army your movement phase. I think it was in the charge phase before, right? What did that do?
Yeah. So on the Rune Master, he gave you a bonus to run and charge of +1.
Oh, okay.
But you couldn't trigger it until the charge phase, so you never actually got the bonus to run.
Got it. Okay.
So because it was triggering in the wrong phase, it couldn't ever actually affect them. Like again, It was one of those examples of like they gave this thing, and then didn't realize that it didn't actually work.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So this fixes that.
Phantasmagoria in Slanesh, which was impossible to understand, but if you read it favorably, it was pretty good because you could leave combat before you got hit, maybe. Now they changed it so it's just terrible. After somebody punches you in the face, you can float away 2d3 inches, maybe. Well, hot darn. What an ability. Aren't you Phantasmagorian? Like... Okay. Cool. What is this? What is this spell? What is this lore? This is for later. The frigate changed the second sentence of the assault boat ability to pick a number of units up to the transport capacity that are wholly within 6 inches of it, are not in combat, and have not charged this turn to be the targets.
Do you understand what this was doing?
Yeah. It was, yes, I am aware of the shenanigans it was doing. It's fine. It's cleaner now. I played KO actually at Nashcon. How
was your experience?
Yeah, fine. I felt really bad for the guy. Like I absolutely, it was our good buddy Jacob, and he did not have a good game. KO was in a rough spot. I don't know. An army like Slanesh that moves so fast across the board, like it was just like surround him, kill him, and then he was just like stuck. Anyways, for later discussion. Lumineth, you have to pick 2. The lightning reactions, you have to pick 2 Lumineth Realm Lords units. I love that got left out. So people are like chain reacting with Endless, or with Manifestations, or with Mega Gargant allies and stuff, which is very funny. And then Magakin of Nurgle. You cannot pick Manifestations terrain features to be the targets of this ability. The Blessed by the Plague Father. Yeah, that's funny. Nighthaunt, Hexwraith's control characteristics set to 1. The first of what I hope to be many nerfs coming to Nighthaunt. Morghast Arakai and Morghast Harbingers should have fly. They always have been. They have wings. And more discard just to clean up to make it unmodified ward roll of 1, which is fine. The Scar Veteran on Agradon got its whole thing rewritten to the way the attacks characteristic and rage token works and stuff like that, so it's fine. Raptrix's own ability on their own scroll can actually affect them, even though all of their weapons are companions. Slight oversight there. Stormcast Eternals, the guided by lightning to once per battle army your movement phase, so you can't like guide over and over again. The Dias Arcanum,
platform.
Yeah, the Dias Arcanum got some updates, and then the Twistweld changed its timing. So, and that was there's a few more. Apologize. And then FAQs in the faction packs. Can you use all out slaughter once per unit? Yes, as like that is evident, but like I appreciate the answer all the same, because like that is derivative of the rules, but it was not easy to get to. The Gloomspite gets, does the Bouncing Fury ability have any effect on companion words? Yes, because it specifically says, so it breaks the rule. Lumineth Realm Lords, can you double stack a single facet of war? No, you cheaters. And if a Cenari Caligrave miscasts a spell when attempting to summon a manifestation, can they use their Realm Scribe ability to avoid the miscast? No. So, there you go.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. J said, oh, gee, the Lord Important, even less good now. Yeah, that is very true. That guy was already bad before. He's worse now. Okay. So yeah, that's the FAQ. This is just like baseline cleanup. We got some work to do with Battle Scroll. We'll talk about it. All right, that was a long news section, but there we go. We covered it, Tom. Shall we get to some pick of the week?
Sure.
Okay. What would you like to share with everybody for your pick of the week, Tom?
Our friend of the show, where is it? Heywo did a wonderful review or reaction, basically, to the Cruel Boys. Was it the Cruel Boys?
He's had a bunch.
Yeah,
he's been doing wonderful.
Earlier today he did the index review to the Cruel Boys, and it's delightful as always. So check it out. I don't want to spoil anything, but Cruel Boys are wild.
Yeah. It's great. It's a great book. I will link Heywo down below, as well as Heywo Plus for all of the additional content as SJ Arcade loads them back up. Yes, Moses, you're correct. That is what happens. It's a nice bonus. Like I like it. It was unexpected. For myself, I have a pick for the future. That is to say, the video will probably be, I think, published either tomorrow or Friday. I don't know. We'll see. But our good buddy Pleasant Kenobi, he's got his alt channel PK's War Room, where he talks about Warhammer related stuff. He had a great episode recently. This isn't the recommendation. This is just a side note. He had a great episode recently about like, is 40K boring now? And that will line you up well, because he and I did a show where we did one of his full podcasts, and that should be coming out, I think, Friday. So check it out if you want to see me slag off on 40K for about an hour and a half. It's just me describing everything why I don't like 40K. I am sure that all the people who do like 40K that watch his show are going to hate me. But here we are. I make no bones about it. But
comfortable with you on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said in the show, like what you like. I mean, like, I'm not really judging anybody's personal aesthetic. All of it is why it doesn't appeal to me, how I find the things, right? And we are all allowed to have our own takes on things. Anyways, so check that out. PK's War Room. It's linked down below. Go check it out. Also, don't forget, tomorrow night I will be live on Heywo's channel as the next game in our actual play Riffs series happens. And that is promises to be a lot of fun. We're doing a big train heist this week, Tom. It's going to be a good one. We're going to be bringing our big war wagon up alongside a train, and I assume, and gotta rob that bad boy. Rob the lightning rail. So it's like a the TK lightning rail or whatever.
Yeah,
TW lightning rail,
sense.
sorry. Anyways, so check out that. Frank Baker, can we talk about how sweet your newly painted up Warp Blaster is? Oh, thank you, Frank. I'm really happy with him. Yeah, he's not actually the most recent thing. And with that, let's quickly transition over to some hobby time. Tom, what have you been painting, buddy?
Well, I spent a lot of hours this weekend with my son, actually, working on our armies for Holy Havoc. So we finished up the Zenithal prep and like the final ivory dry brush, and then we did we worked through his first test model, like his first full paint of a model to make sure like his colors and everything was what he wanted to do. And so he did a model start to finish and liked it, and so began chain painting his art boys to in sequence. So and then we got a bunch of terrain primed and base coated, primed, and started. And so it was a weekend full of hobby this weekend. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. For myself, I had to get everything ready. It's been a very busy hobby time. So obviously, over the weekend, I was at Nashcon, which we'll talk about in a moment. So that was obviously a thing. Got 5 good games of Warhammer. Well, I got 4 games of Warhammer in, and then I had a 5th game, but that was only 15 minutes long. That's a different story. But it was a lot of fun. I had a great time at the tournament. Took home best painted, so that was very nice. I was grateful for that. And we'll talk a little more about Nashcon in a moment. Got back, had to prep everything for Nova, which is next week. So I had to get all of my teaching stuff ready. Had to get everything ready for the show. But I also managed to finish up my engineer. I've got him sitting beside me still because there's like maybe 1 or 2 tiny things I want to touch on him. But yeah, he's done. So the Skaven engineer ready to go. 1 more fig in my army done. I really like this guy. He was actually super fun to paint. This is the one that like a lot of people didn't like when we saw him, but I promise, like
don't.
In the hand, Tom, he's so much better. Like the picture of him is just terrible. In hand, he's just such a good sculpt. Like the detail on this guy is exquisite. He really is nice. The only part of him that's mildly annoying is he really is holding the telescope like very close to his eye. So like getting in between there is pretty annoying. But that's like that's a very minimal thing. Like he's such a clean, sharp, good sculpt. I really am happy with how he came out. So it was a lot of fun to paint. When do we see the conclusion of the Ninjon v Vince Rat Army paint off? Oh god, it's going to be a while. Although John and I did record basically a session of us trash talking each other for about an hour today, just so we'd have content to both use for upcoming videos of what we're doing. No, it's good. It's a lot of fun. I mean, like John and I try to hang out and paint when we can. It's just good to have a partner to motivate you. So, you know, it is just both of us pushing each other. And they'll be here, I guess not technically next month, but they'll be here in October for VinceyCon. So, all right. Yeah, so my hobby's been jam-packed, but it's moving along. I think it's time to return back to Clan Rats, sadly. But I don't know. I could get lured away by something else. You know, who knows? Who knows? I do need to at some point paint Clan Rats, or I'm going to get to the end of this meal and have a lot of vegetables I've got to choke down.
Yep. That's what I literally had that conversation with Wes because he was like, "Oh, this Maw Crusher," like he was just chomping at the bit, and I was like,
"Champing,
champing, sure." And I just said, you know, the way that Vince says this is you have to eat your vegetable, you know. And I gave him the lecture, right, of saying that like this is gonna flow by, and you really want to do that, and then you're not gonna want to touch your art boys. And so like he did his test model on the first art boy, and then started painting the other 9. Like trying to get that out of the way so you can get to the good stuff.
It's rough. It is. I sympathize, man. It's rough. You know, because like especially with those Clan Rats, like I know I need them. I know I want them. And the funny part is I actually like painting them. They're actually really fun to paint.
Sure.
The new Clan Rats are like exceptionally good models. but it's like getting to 40 at least. Like that's a starting number, right? Is going to be that's
two min 20s. Yeah.
Yeah. So oof, it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a journey. 10 down, 30 to go.
On the other side, my son has like a 16 model army.
Yeah.
And like he's like, oh, this is great. He's like, this is just so much. Like he's over here like, this is okay, but it's just so much. And I'm just like, oh, son.
Yeah.
This is
nothing.
This is nothing.
You know nothing, Jon Snow. All right. Anyways, okay. All right. Let's get into tonight's main segment, shall we? This is a grab bag section, I guess. Because I had a lot of different things I wanted to talk about, and they didn't really all fit into one sort of thing. So this is just like, last week we did Martin and I, we did the sort of the good, the meh, the bad, the ugly, those kinds of things. This isn't that. This is more just like, this is more like, I don't know, things that have occurred to me over 30 games, right? After going to my first tournament. Now, Tom, you've been to a tournament.
Yep. I did RTG. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so, there's a difference between obviously playing. I've gotten a lot of games in at home. Most of those have been against the same person, though not all. I've had lots of games against other people in our club as well. But going to a tournament really does clarify things because you get to see. This is a 120 person tournament, right? So I got to see, a lot of games happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my first thoughts were really that, like, one, I really like this edition. Okay? I really do. I have had a lot of fun. There's something about it that keeps me coming back. But there are things that are sort of up in my craw, and I need to figure out how to deal with those. Okay?
They're proud nails, truly.
Yeah, exactly. I've got these thorns in my paw, and I need to figure out how to pick them out. Jim Crimmins, do we expect a Nighthaunt nerf? I expect Nighthaunt to get hit so hard in the knees that they're going to look like it's going to be Nancy Kerrigan after the 96 Olympics or whatever. Yeah, like 100%. Okay. Stewart, I think they're just out of stock. I'm not expecting anything new for them. We did talk about the errata, yes. And yes, I believe we'll see the rest of the Ruination Chamber stuff for Nova. Okay. So, first off, I wanted to take you through a little fun stuff, Tom. Thoughts here. Yep. Fun thing, Tom, specifically Nashcon.
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about Nashcon a little bit. Okay. Mm-hmm. This was a great tournament. As I said, 120 people. One of the larger tournaments to happen so far. There's been lots of tournaments that have happened, but this is one of the bigger ones that's happened since the launch of the edition. Obviously, next week we'll have Nova. That'll be a very big event, right? And my thoughts thus far are about my thoughts on Nashcon are, I really do love the tournament David puts together. He had a new award this year for best display. Okay, so he actually separated best painted from best display, which I loved, and I encourage every TO who runs something of sufficient size to do, because there was like a really, really beautiful display there that I was so happy to see win an award. It was this awesome Flesh Eater Quartz display. It was gorgeous. I apologize. I talked to the guy who did it. I do not remember your name. I am so sorry. I'm terrible with names. If you happen to be watching or watch this in the future, say, hey, that was me. Your army and your display absolutely ruled. You did a great job. It was like a lot of people were it's just very positive overall. Most everybody was having a ton of fun. Tournament was clean. David and Fletch, Anthony wasn't there because he had a work event, but he was there in spirit. He was helping in the background. BCP crapped out, as BCP is like as prone to do, and Anthony was an absolute hero behind the scenes. But like Fletch and David ran a great show. If you can ever get to Nashcon, I would recommend 10 out of 10. Like, it was absolutely super fun. Yes, Tori, it was the spider one. Yeah, 100%. So it was great. We missed you this year, Tom. I know you had something come up. Unfortunate. I'm sure you'll be back next year. I press gang Tyler on the on the drive home to say like he's got to be there next year as well. But overall, my thoughts were here's a couple of quick summaries. one, here's a fun thing I did. So, Tom, I hate display boards. For those who didn't see my thing on Twitter, I shared this out on Twitter. I thought I'd show everybody this picture. So, I hate display boards. And I was scrolling around on Twitter, wasting my life. And I happened to see somebody have a picture of like a chocolate lava cake where they had spray paint, or they like part of it was red. And they had a little Lego minifig of Obi-Wan on the top of it and Anakin on the lower part of it. And, you know, there's like, it's over, Anakin, I've got the high ground, like that thing, yeah? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so it's these two little figs standing on a cake, and I was like, huh. And then it clicked in my mind that I could make the perfect Slaanesh display board cake, right? And so I went to the store and I bought 2 frozen cakes the day before Nashcon. I took them home. I had already ordered edible airbrush paint, okay, because they make edible airbrush paint you can buy. And and so I cleaned out my airbrush. Obviously, I made sure it was thoroughly cleaned with soap and water, and then rinsed it all out, and then loaded up the edible airbrush paint. I thinned it with water, just like straight up water, and I got the frozen cakes out and painted them. I painted them as the prison of Slaanesh, you know, the one with all the the prison of Slaanesh, right?
Yeah.
And so I painted. I had to learn a bunch of stuff because I've never painted a cake before. Like I learned that you shouldn't paint a cake that is frozen because as it comes up to room temperature, it dethaws, and that creates moisture on the top of the frosting, which is then hitting the wet you're laying down with the airbrush paint and beating up to some degree. I mean, you can see how it came out. It came out fine. Like, it actually still worked. But what I should have done was I either need to like paint somewhere that's frozen so it stays cold, or I need to like let it come to room temp, wipe it, paint it, refreeze it, or something like that. No, it wasn't homemade. I'm not going to feed anybody, Paul, a cake that I make. And if I had Kathy make it, then I wouldn't be responsible for the display board. Okay? You don't craft your figures, right? You paint them. This is the same thing.
Amazing.
So after round 1, I got it out after round 1 and set up my army on the display board. I had little like the cupcake stands you can see there. That's what the army's on. They're not actually in the cake. I also had macaroons. The macaroons were also for my opponents. Every time I gave them dice, I gave my opponent a macaroon. I said, here's some dice. May I tempt you with a macaroon? And so I also used those as just like an additional spot of color on there. But yeah, so it was 2 cakes, the same paint. Like I did the same scheme twice of the prison of Slaanesh, and then that was my display board. And then as people came up and turned in their results for round 1, as you can see, I've got plates and forks, and I said, may I serve you some delicious may I tempt you with some delicious display board? And so I cut my display board up and fed it to everybody at the tournament. So there you go. That was my display board, which I thought was fun.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Well, I also made a video of it, so if you're curious how I did it, don't worry, there's a video coming soon. Yeah, it was just great. Lots of great people. I got myself in the Book of Grudges with Rob. That was very fun. Which I told him I'm already in there like 100 times. So, you know, like, don't worry. But yes, I was happy to do that. And then, yeah, overall, Nashcon was really good. I've got a picture. I'll have another Nashcon picture here in a moment, but it was just fun. It was fun to like have. I was very on brand for Slaanesh, right? To hand people to cake, and it was neat to learn how to airbrush a cake. Like, it was very different, so it was just a cool thing. I also learned how to like void my work, like to like I did like the spray paint art trick. If you ever watch spray paint artists work, you know they'll like scratch into it to get back to the base color. I had like I had like chopsticks, and I would use that to then like pull and scrape to reveal the white frosting to go back to neutral. So if I needed to like create edges or color changes in a color I'd already done, or like lightning, I could do that with like that. So it was cool. So yeah, it was fun. There you go. Okay.
Insanity. Yeah.
But one of the things that occurred to me, Tom, this is in my grab bag. Let's move on to something here that I thought. I want to talk about indices being solved. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Tom, we are how far into this game right now? I don't know, a month?
Yep. We are literally a month.
Okay. The vast majority of the indexes are solved, and we know exactly who's good and who's bad. Okay. I think this is the picture. Yeah, here we go. So this is from Nashcon. This is the top 4 tables in round 5. Okay. This is Cruel Boys versus Night Haunt, Cruel Boys versus Cruel Boys, Night Haunt versus Disciples of Tzeentch, and Huracan Lumineth versus S2D Bellicor Varangard. Okay. And if I turned this around, you would see 3 more Night Haunt players. Bop, bop, bop. Okay. As well as another S2D player and another Varangard, of course, and another Cruel Boys player.
Yep.
Okay. So there was also there was a couple other things in that mix in the top 10 on that last round. Like there was a Soul Blight player and stuff like that. So I don't want to pretend like it's just that. But what I can say is that I don't know, Tom, what do you think? 75%, 3 out of 4 indices. These are solved. Yeah. There is just,
I would agree with that.
There is just a list. Now, again, when I say list, I don't want people to trip me up on some pedantic nonsense, right? I don't mean all 2,000 points to a T is exactly locked in, because that's not how lists work, right?
No, probably 1,600 is locked in, and then there's some flex after that 1,600.
Depending on how much you end up, your play style, your exact thing. I also want to point out down this table, it's all morbids. You can see them. Purple Sun, Purple Sun, Purple Sun. There's another Purple Sun here under Tom's hand.
Yeah, Sean Clark's wasn't. Sean's there with his Cruel Boys, and he had he was a incarnate, which is what I run in Cruel Boys.
Yeah, I understand.
He wasn't morbid. Yeah,
I understand. I'm just pointing out down the top 4 here. Yeah. Sean is actually you can almost see him. He's actually, I think, the green shirt that's over there. That's the Detroit Warhammer Club. He was at the next row over in the first table.
Yeah.
I think that's where you were sitting. Anyways, my point is you can literally look down here. It's 8 morbids going against each other. Okay. And so just every index is, or not every. I think that there are variances. I'll talk about where I see variance. But for the most part, there are just the internal balance is such that it's very obvious what units are the good ones. 1,600 to 1,800 points of the list is locked in. Because as I walk down the table, it's all the same list. It's all the same list. And by the way, I'm not faulting these players. This is not me putting anybody here on blast.
Yep.
These people are all, lots of people had their same list. They ain't sitting on top tables. Okay. These people are here because they are all very skilled Warhammer players. I had a lot of time to watch all of these games. I literally had the whole round. So I walked up and down and watched almost all of these top 4 table games. These are 8 exceptional Warhammer players playing 8 high skill, high level games of Warhammer. But my point is that I looked at the list and it was 1,600 the same, 1,600 the same, 1,800 the same, so on and so forth, right? Down the line. Okay. Most of the indices are just solved. There simply is a best list. Others need not apply.
Yep.
The ones where there aren't are all by necessity, Tom, middle of the road at best.
Yeah.
So the 1 out of 4. Let me unpack why that is. Because
there's no way forward.
No.
There's no clear way forward.
Yeah, there's no so Stormcast, Skaven, Soul Blight. Now they all vary in their potential spot in the fat middle. They're all pretty much in the fat middle, right? At varying places in there, more or less successful. But they're all basically in there or close enough.
Yep.
But there's no ultra efficient units in any of them that you want to build your whole army around, and they have a deep enough bench that there is actually multiple rosters that are all competitive if you are a good player and build to it.
Right.
Whereas with most indices, The answer is just, this is the best unit, this is the right hero, this is the best second hero, go, right? Like S2D probably falls into like half and half, because it's like you take either Archeon or Bellicor or Abraxia, a bunch of Erangard, and then you have something else that's flex. And so like, yeah, there's some distinction there, I guess, because you can have lots of different heroes, right? And it's shocking to me how quickly the community is just like, this is solved. Yeah, I agree, Assistant Ref. I think IDK is another good example of that in the middle, because you really because again, IDK has no super standout units. It relies on like really tight play. It has a really high skill floor. In the hands of a good player, it can be extremely effective. But it's like its skill floor is through the roof. Its floor is a ceiling, basically. It's so high.
Yeah.
But it just really hit me, like walking around and looking at the games. It was obvious that like 75% of these indices are there's one army. There's not multiple play patterns. There's not multiple options. Most of the units aren't even worth considering. There's just like, this is the list.
Do you think that that's an issue of points or an issue of War Scrolls?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think some armies you could play with points that could open up new avenues. I think, and some armies, the War Scrolls, like there's no BCR list that works, because the War Scrolls are just fundamentally bad. You'd have to cheapen them so much, right, that you would just get to insanity. You'd get caught in the
efficiency grinder.
Yeah, exactly. You bring them up. Sure, like there's a great BCR list if Frostlord on Stonehorn's 180 points, right? Like, yeah, incredible, you know. But that's that's not a thing.
It's so funny. Like when I think back to Cruel Boys, like there's really not a list in Cruel Boys unless you're heavy Gut Rippas / Gut Rippas and the Warcry Warband.
Mm-hmm.
The Beast Killers, like that, like it's a combination of those two things that where the list is. Like there's no Hobgrot list. Like there's no, like that's not a thing.
There was a dude there with a 200 Hobgrot list.
Yeah, and did he go 1 and 4?
I have no idea what his record was. It wasn't great, I don't think. But I mean, look, I'm just 200 Hobgrots is wild. Like they were all painted. I mean, that dude, full credit to that guy. But no, it's like, it's just like, again, there are exemptions. I'm not saying every index, right? I really do think SPG has multiple play paths, because the internal balance is stronger in SPG. It's stronger in Skaven. Yeah. It's kind of not great in Stormcast, but there are just like enough units that doesn't matter that half the book is crap. There are still multiple play patterns because there are just like enough units. Long strikes are slightly favored, but you're not going to build an army out of them alone, right? Oh, Kual says he went 0-3 and then went home. Oh, there you go. Because he loves his wife. Oh, well, there you go. But I mean, he won my heart with 200 Hobgrots.
But I mean, that's my point, right? Like, like there is my concern ultimately is, you said the answer is yes for War Scrolls or points. I was burying the lead there, because I actually don't think that I don't think that solves our problem. I think
you're saying you still have like the regiment problem as well, like Murdoch is saying.
I think fundamentally the regiment problem is way more egregious than I think that we have actually reflected on. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, like I think that it could be the level of egregiousness that battle tactics were in the last edition.
Yeah, I agree. Well, 80% of every hero of heroes in every single index is Ipsum Lorem text.
Correct, and like maybe with many heroes becoming support heroes, right? Like maybe if they go when they look across 20 heroes, like in an army that might have 20 heroes. I don't know how many actually have that. Some of them do.
Quite a few, actually.
Maybe 4 of those heroes aren't support heroes, and then everything else has to be a support hero. Like
are standalone, and like everything else is so invert the current ratio, basically, right?
Yeah, invert the current ratio so that you have basically 4 to choose from for your 1 to 4 drops, and then everything else is a support hero in some way, shape, or form. That may be the only way to fix the system, and I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah,
and so what that means is that from the get-go, half of your heroes at least are worthless. Just truly, like
Yeah, yeah.
You just leave them
They
on
will.
shelf.
You will
They
never
will
take
never
them.
hit the table.
If you put them in a list,
Correct.
you've made a wrong choice. You have done wrong, right? Like
Right. And
you've done a bad
and
choice.
that's not like, unless you are able to fix that problem, like that will carry for the entire edition.
Yeah.
Like that's not a war scroll. Like unless you deeply rewrite all of those war scrolls, you're not going to fix that. You aren't going to fix that with points because no one's going to 6 drops.
No, I agree. Like I think that like, and I disagree, CW. I think that is a hot take, but I don't think it's right. I think people are going 2 drops because it's the correct answer. Um, I'll tell you that down this murderer's row here, you got a bunch of 2 drops, and 4 out of the 5 people I faced this weekend were 2 drops. Okay, because it is simply the efficient, correct way to build your army. Having the choice of priority is really powerful, unless you're in one of the few armies that really doesn't care. Like there are a few armies where it doesn't matter, and you really can just kind of go nuts and like whatever. It doesn't. It's irrelevant. That does exist. Okay, so like, by the way, I do think Soulblight is one of those armies that can do that. That can pull that off. Soulblight's one that can just be like 6 drops and double guns and who cares, like whatever, right? But most armies need to be able to want the priority, want to be able to choose.
Yeah,
it matters.
Yeah. Like it's like they have exacerbated this issue to the point where like I really hope that a lot of deep thought goes in around this, because I don't know how you um you disentangle this system outside of some deep changes or deep rewrites, like some deep like philosophical design changes. Like I just don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Because points aren't going to do it. Most of the time, war scrolls aren't going to do it. Because here's the deal: even if you write war scrolls to make bad heroes good, you're just going to change the math on which 2 to 3 heroes get played.
That's right.
That's all that will happen.
Sure.
Right. And
Sure.
so the only way that you create real choice is either you allow everybody to functionally be 2 to 3 drops, probably 2 drops, by making sub heroes, or you develop some other system. Like you have to change something else core that it just doesn't look like they're willing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. I completely agree. And by the way, I don't think that's the worst of it. Just wait till I get to the slide in just a moment, because I have more on this. Like you have opened a can of worms that we can just transition into here in a moment. But I want to leave this by saying that like I just think that battle scroll needs to get here, and like we need to do some heavy tinkering. And there's no way that the first battle scroll is going to do enough.
No.
Like tournament top tables are going to be pretty stale pretty fast, right?
Yep.
Because it will be a lot of the same lists winning. And every so often there will be a weird one, but it'll be a lot of the same lists.
What's so egregious, by the way, is that things were so fine-tuned last edition from a performance standpoint. To go back to something like this where you like pick your top 5, but it's one of these 5 armies, is rough.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Okay. So here's my next item, Tom. Bad matchups and shooting armies. I just kind of want to talk about this for a minute. This kind of leads into that, right?
Yeah.
So carrying on from that thing I just said, I'm fascinated by, this is sort of 2 topics I've kind of clubbed together because they're related, sort of. Okay, so I want to talk about bad matchups first. I want to talk about a couple games I experienced. This all flows from some Nashcon stuff that really like clarified things in my mind. I'm not, to be clear to everyone, I am not over-indexing from a few stories. I am using the anecdote of this story to prove, as an example, to prove the larger point I am making.
Yep.
Okay, I want to talk about my game 3 versus game 4. Okay. Game 3, I played Jacob Burleson. Jacob is an awesome dude. It's the 3rd time I've played him at Nashcon. He's an amazingly good guy. He was there with his wife. She's lovely and very nice. He's somebody I would be happy to play a game of Warhammer against any day of any week, anytime. It's always nice.
Yeah.
We've had some really fun games. And he was running KO. So he had like, I assume probably what is just like the KO list you would expect. I mean, I don't know. But it was like an Ironclad and a big unit of Thunders and some Arco and an Admiral and an Assault Boat and some Endrin Riggers and so on. Like that kind of thing. Like, like sort of a panoply of KO stuff, right?
Yep.
And he kind of explained, the army. I was like, I don't really know KO that well. And he kind of, talked through things. I said, and then I talked him through Slaanesh stuff, and we got underway in our game, right? And, the long story short was we were playing Star Strike, so it's already not a good matchup for him. Okay.
Yep.
And then I basically, like, the objective fell relatively near to where all of my forces were stationed. Like, all of my hitters were stationed. Okay. And I made him go first, even though he didn't have to, technically, because of the way I positioned the mask. Like, the mask would have gotten into him and just done a bunch of damage, so he had to take the turn, and then he couldn't get to the objective, and then so I did. I moved my whole army onto the objective, fought a couple of his things, killed out some units. He fled, I shot he was in sort of a castle. I shot a couple throwaway things into him, like Sevald and some Seekers. He then evac'd over here. Then I got the turn. My entire army then flew, across the board because Slaanesh is very fast. I surrounded him. He tried to redeploy, and then it wasn't far enough. I made every charge. I surrounded him. He failed every save. Tom, every save. I felt bad for him. I attacked the boat. He was like, okay, 4 saves on a 4-up. All failed. I was like, okay, 12 damage. And he's like, 2 saves. I was like, 2 more. He's like, okay, 2 more on a 4-up. Failed both. I'm like, okay, 8 damage. It's just like, literally, he failed every save. It was wild. It kept going. For a whole phase, he failed every single save. At one point, I was like, please stop rolling those dice. This is not fun anymore. You gotta stop. He failed such an inordinate number of saves that it was I felt like he had been cursed. Okay. At any rate, I lifted that whole part of his army, and I had zoned out, so the only place he could drop the assault boat was worthless, right, and far away. And so he dropped the assault boat over there. Then I immediately ran away from it and left it stranded, killed the whole rest of his army, and then he only had his assault boat and some other things left, and then that was the end of the game. Right, it was over. Basically, bottom of 2, it was over. Okay. So I didn't push a double turn in there or anything. It was the normal turn sequence. It was what it was, right? I just he had I just overwhelmed him, slammed him. There was nothing he could do. I was on him. Okay. Now let's go to so you might think, okay, cool. I'm playing a very aggressive Slaanesh list, right? It was a 12mm dice. It was. You're right, Pat Noon. Wow, there you go. Anyways, my game 4 next morning, which I thought was going to be against Nighthaunt. Thank God somebody dropped. It was not, and I got paired into Gloomspite instead. With Donnie G from the Detroit Warhammer Club, great dude, and he was playing Gloomspite, and he had 2 lists. Okay, one was an all trolls list, and which I would have been fine with. I would have been fine with fighting it. That's a better list for me, just because he also doesn't have a ton of board control or whatever. His units are tough, but whatever. And then he had a squig list. The squig list was 4 reinforced squig herds. Okay, so 80 squigs.
Yep.
Gabapalooza, the boss guy that makes him that makes him do crit mortals, and then Kragnos.
Okay.
So
just sending them, just full send.
So very, very, very fast, right?
Yeah.
Top of 1, he yet again, I use the mask to control who takes the first turn, even if I lose the drop war. I deployed unit the whole time because I lost every drop war because I was 3 drops. I was always losing.
Yeah.
So I would just deploy unit instead of regiment. So I would set down the mask who redeploys and be like, go ahead. So They would like drop their first drop. I would set down the mask. They would drop the rest of their army. And then I would set up my army in opposition to them.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yep.
By the way, which still didn't matter in the games where I lost. It was just irrelevant. Like it wasn't enough to save me. At any rate, so he sees the center, brings two buffed up units of squigs. He gets his neg 1 to hit, spell off, like alt 5 up ward, all this stuff off, right? I'm ready. I've got a euphoric unit because I gave people 3 dice every round without fail, period. I stuck to my guns, 3 dice every round. Okay? And...
Here, have an 18-inch charge.
He can't. You can only use 2 of the dice to replace a charge.
Oh, womp womp.
Yeah, but it would give him a 12-inch charge. I mean, it's still insanity.
12 plus a d6.
There's lots of things it could do.
Yeah.
So at any rate, I tried to I redeployed and was trying to countercharge into him to rob him of Seize the Center, but failed the rerollable charge. It's is what it is. That happens. Okay. So then on my turn, I'm like, okay, I'll shoot around here and do this thing. He summons an invocation a manifestation off turn in my way to block me up. Really hate that. That happened like every game. People would just off turn summon manifestations in my way. It's really annoying.
I did it 3 turns in a row for the Kronspine.
Yeah. It's
like I would summon it on their turn, get in the way, let it die, do it again the next turn, do it again the next turn.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I still managed to more or less get to where I was. Blah blah blah. I lift a single unit of the squigs, but he gets off a big counter charge, and with the 1 unit I couldn't tie down and couldn't get out of the range of, and then like a single unit of squigs kills like my whole army because it's 80 attacks on 4s, 3s, rend 1, damage 1, right? Like he doesn't even need the crit mortals. He just level that will level anything I have, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I was like playing for the double. This is like the bottom of 1, right? I either get the double or lose. I did not get the double. I lost. Yeah, that was it, right? Because then he just collapses on me, and that's it. Like I had at the end of the middle of 2, I had 2 units of Seekers left on the board, and he had his army. Right?
Wow.
Okay. So in those 2 matchups, it was just like in both cases, right? By the middle of round 2, the game was over with one person being basically tabled. That's what happened because of the nature of the matchup, right?
Yeah.
Like I was the perfect counter to Jacob because he didn't have the shooting power to bring me down, and I had like enough things I could stand in the way, and he doesn't have the board control. And he had the bodies and damage. Then Donnie had the bodies and damage. There's no hope. Because, like, I cannot, as somebody who only fights in melee, I can't fight squigs. Right? Because even if I kill them, I just take a bunch of mortal wounds. My own units were dying, even killing the enemy.
Yeah.
Forget killing Kragnos or something. Right?
Yeah.
So, in both games, you had the players... This was bereft of the double, by the by. The situation would have been worse had the turn order went how it should have gone and a double happened.
Yep.
Okay. So, like, bad matchups, the rock, paper, scissors is so much stronger right now in the indices. Okay? Because now let me tell you a story. So let's carry on with this story, Tom. So, like, we saw, this is my point. I had this complete flip, right? Round 3, huge victory, lost to the mask only. That was the only unit I lost.
Yeah.
Okay? Round 4, tabled. Right?
Yep.
Okay. So Donnie, with that list, that wound-dense body list, his next round, I stopped by his table to see how he was doing in round 5. Right? He was up pretty high. And he had pulled a Huracan LRL matchup.
Oof.
When I walked by his table a couple times and just kind of watched, and that army picked him apart. He had nothing left. I don't know what round it was because like I was coming and going, but by the last time I came over to him, he basically had like 2 goblins left, and there were still archers everywhere just shooting him. Right? Cody, 3 dice every turn without fail, baby. Always full send. we full send. When you play a Black Market Connections, you full send. It's 6 life. Okay? Full send. At any rate.
I can attest to the fact that if Vince plays a Black Market Connection, he loses 6 life on his turn every game. Every turn.
You're absolutely right. We full send, baby. Okay? Okay. So I watched
those
like that.
Temptation dice basically aren't temptations for them. They're temptations for Vince.
Yeah, correct.
To make bad decisions.
The CW says, I'm waiting to hear something new. I've had some awful bad matchups for years. Sure, there's always some. Like, that's always possible. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, it is way more pronounced to me right now. Okay. Because of that, the nature of the way these armies play into each other is so much heavier rock, paper, scissors right now.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that some armies are just like way off kilter on how strong they are. So if you play into like the army that just has your number by its basic construction, it's just over into like it's all over except the crying. Like you are lining up on an 80-20 match against you in some cases.
Yeah.
Right, and that's just the way it is. Now there are lists at the top of the meta that never suffer that, right? Like all the Murderer's Row, the Fearsome Fivesome or whatever are never in that position. So like Cool Boys, Night Haunt, LRL, Varangard, S2D, so on. Like they all have the they're never going to be in that position. But for most armies don't have that luxury. And what occurred to me is that shooting is basically dead. Like I played against 2 different shooting armies. I took them both apart. Just creamed them. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And like there's not shooting doesn't have the strength, right? I faced a shooting Stormcast army with like 12 long strikes, and I faced the KO army. Flatlined them. In both cases, lost almost nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the shooting army that is actually in the conversation right now is Huracan LRL, because it's a bunch of sniper units that do high damage and then don't get targeted. Mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's no reprisal, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a Skaven shooting list that could do well. I don't know. Right? I will say CW, I mean, that's not my experience since First Ed. That's not the experience I think most players. Like, in most players, that's just, in most editions, most times, that's not been the case.
No,
I've been able to, because there's never been that strong of a rock, paper, scissors. Like, and I've played a panopoly of different armies, and always felt like sometimes it felt like the odds were against me. Certainly a little bit on the back foot. But, like, never as strong as right now. Not even close. Because, like, I'll line up and be like, oh, I just don't have a chance. Given what I am playing, there is, like, this is just, I'm dead on arrival. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Maybe that's has to do with the armies we play or the lists we were playing or something like that, CW. But it's not been my experience over a wide selection of armies. And so, like, my point is just, I think shooting armies are, like, not a thing. Which I don't know if that's good or bad. It's bad for KO. Because they need to be a thing. That's their only thing. Right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean,
and Huracan LRL is like way too good. I watched Tom Guan. I watched almost his whole game. Play Huracan LRL. It was like, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like watching a player at that skill level play an army like that with that optionality, putting that level of optionality in his hands. I mean, it was wild. It was wild. So, I mean, I don't know. Where's your thoughts on this?
I mean, what I would say is this. I mean, like, it has a bunch of downstream consequences. Shooting has been neutered at a variety of different points leading up to this.
Probably for the better overall.
Probably for the better overall. But the ability to not threaten tech pieces, for example, with the new body or the new Lookout Sir rules, coupled with just some of the other restrictions, like not being able to shoot in combat most of the time, those types of things, I think are just it's problematic. At the end of the day, I think it's really problematic for for fixing it. And I think that and then for some armies, it's just egregious, like KO, where they almost need literally like half the current point costs in order to field an army that could actually like participate and compete.
Yeah. And I understand what I'm saying here is going to sound deflating to people. Like, I get that, because like I saw Fall and I saw your comment. I don't want to make you feel that, but I don't want to make you feel bad. Like, I'm hitting things that are proud nails to me. But like, you have to understand, I still had a lot of fun playing the 4 games I played, even the 2 I lost. Like, that Squig matchup was over fast, like real fast. But I still had a fun time playing it, right? I don't like that particular army, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Yeah. But like, I it's not as though I think the edition's gone. I just think we've got a lot of work to do in the battle scroll, right? I think that's what it comes down to. Like, the indices we just got a lot of work. Those are the 2 points. I have had more, as I said, Fallen, I've had more fun playing 4th than I have in a long time. Okay? I love a lot of what's going on here, but you got to find the right force now that like can both meet what's going on in the meta and that you enjoy playing. And I will admit, finding that like Venn diagram, finding the overlap there can sometimes be a little tricky. So it's like it's a little challenging, but yeah, that's my thoughts. I don't want to deflate everyone. I know it sounds like I'm being very negative. I'm really not trying to be. I just want to I'm just laying out the things as I see them right now. Like, we've got a hill to climb with the battle scroll.
There are serious things that need attention in the new edition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, it's not all puppies and rainbows.
No, exactly. I mean, I think the bones of this edition are really good. Like, the base game, I really, really, really enjoy. Right? It's I do have my choice paralysis I deal with when playing like very, very good players, because I know they're going to punish me if I make one wrong move, right? But that's just me and my particular psychology, right? Most players will not experience that. Yeah, so at any rate, it's not really the Sentinels, it's the Huracan stuff, Latin, like the Foxes and the Wind Riders and stuff like that. So is FEC irrelevant now? No, I don't think so. I think FEC's plenty fine. I think they're pretty much right where they should be. Like, they have a good army, they can give a good game, they're very nicely in the middle. I think they've got some very strong capabilities. I saw a lot of FEC is actually pretty interesting. I mean, it's unfortunate you you basically have to use Usharon, like he's required.
Yeah.
But no, I think FEC really does give a good game. So yeah, I actually very much like where FEC is, and other than requiring your named main character to be part of your force, which is bad, I wish most other armies looked more like FEC. Yeah. Like, I think FEC is pretty straightly middle of the pack, like, and right where it should be. They should be an ideal that we should be knocking those tall poppies down to, right?
Yeah.
And maybe even boosting a few things in FEC up so that like Oosh isn't required in some way. Okay. I want to talk about the double turn, Tom.
Okay.
I've made some comments. Well, I want to talk about the double turn. Here we go. I need to timestamp this. I've long been a defender of the double turn. I think it's fine. And in this edition, what I have come out with very strongly is that the double turn is worse than it's ever been. It's more powerful than it's ever been. And it's more powerful on turn 1 into 2 than it's ever been. That's almost always the right time to take it now. And I stand behind this. But I wanted to break down why. I talked to Tyler, and he had heard me talking about this, and he's like, some people are asking me, like, what is Vince talking about? Has he lost his mind? Okay. Nope, I have not. So, I want to explain why the double turn is stronger, more powerful, and more off-kilter than it's ever been. Okay? And I'm going to list for you, for everyone here, my 5 reasons why it's worse. Top 5 reasons on the board. If you haven't hit like yet, hit like. Okay. So, hit subscribe, click things, make dings, be cooler. Be cool. All right, let's talk about it. I got to walk you through a chain of logic here, Tom. Because at a at a high level, it wouldn't make sense that the double turn would be better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, theoretically, it has a worse penalty than it ever has. You have to not score a battle tactic. That's like 4 points, right? Shouldn't that make it, shouldn't that actually make it, like, you know, weaker than it's ever been? Theoretically, but the problem is that the double turn and its power has very little to do with the codified rules that are around it, and much more to do with the fundamentals of the game. Okay? Let me explain. I have to take you through my chain of logic. Let me first state a fact. Battle tactics scoring has gone down in the new edition.
Right.
Okay? The number of achieved battle tactics has fallen from roughly 5 to roughly 4 on average.
Yep.
For winning games.
Yep.
For the winning player. Okay? So let's just accept that as a truth, because it is. It's just a fact. Okay.
Yep.
Now, let me take you through my logic chain. Number 1. Point the first. Armies are smaller and more condensed than they ever have been. Because the max units in most armies are 9 to stay 2 drops, right? Your general's regiment plus 4, secondary regiment plus 3. 5 plus 4 is 9. Yeah? People tend to... plus, also, units tend to need to be reinforced to be worth anything. Okay? Like, to be a hammer, you have to be reinforced. The thing you don't reinforce is your prospectors.
Sure.
Okay? So, chaff is also near non-existent in this setup. Because we have condensed armies, because we have reinforced, because we have focused down to often 2 expensive heroes, right?
Yep.
And your chaff units are now sitting on the side of the board here and here.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Because they need to be ready to take the flanks and then take their land. Right? They got to go be prospectors. So maybe you have like 1 chaff unit left, maybe. Right? Like I had one that wasn't I had 1 prospector unit that could act as chaff in most of my setups, and a couple different setups that I had for the different maps. Okay? But so chaff basically doesn't exist. For some armies, it like literally doesn't exist, but that's always kind of been the case.
Yep. Poor Iron Jaws.
At best, you can what most people are using as chaff is like garbage off turn summoning of manifestations.
Yep.
Right? Which shouldn't be a thing. Like that should absolutely be changed in the battle scroll so you can't summon manifestations off turn. Because that's just Garbo. It's a Garbo thing. And a bad play experience. So we have smaller, more condensed armies with less units and less chaff. Point first. Point the second. Damage has become an inverted bell curve. What I mean by this is units will, in 4.0, units will either tend to do way more damage than they ever have in the game, or way less.
Yeah.
Okay? So... yeah, that is correct, Assistant Ref. He said that don't forget coherency reductions too. So combined with a 3-inch combat range, so chaff doesn't screen nearly as well as it used to. Yeah. Okay. So Slanesh definitely does not have chaff Benadryl. Yes, with Skaven can still have plenty of chaff. You can take plenty of 40 packs of clan rats. Skaven is one of the few armies that can have actually lots of chaff. All right. Damage has become an inverted bell curve. When you have a unit that hammer units to get the right matchups deal more damage than ever before. When you get your Dawn Riders and they go into infantry and their crit mortals on 5 is up, right? And something like that, they hit the right target. It's lights out. It's just like, it's damage that we haven't seen since early AoS. Right? Like, it's pick up your toys, mate time. Okay? If you don't have all that stuff, it's just you get like prospectors fighting each other, get in slap fights. These are doing like 3 damage in irrelevant combats, right?
Yep.
There's no middle ground. Damage just looks like this. The unit is obliterated out of existence. It is turned into a red paste, right? It becomes a memory. The number of times I got hit and it was just like I took like 20 more damage than I had health. Just like, right? Like you just didn't overkill me. Like there was nothing left. That unit's soul was destroyed. They couldn't go back to Aesir, right? And then like at the same time you'd have fights going on where it's like 1 damage, 2 damage, right? That's the fight.
Yeah.
Those are the two types of fights happening on the table.
Yep.
Okay. Defense is down across the board. Right? It just is. Like saves are down, save stacking is gone, right? So defense is just down across the board. No more like ward stacking. A lot of that stuff has been cleaned up, right? So if damage has become an inverted bell curve, and we know like there's less chaff, and you need to get your units the right buffs and get them into the right targets to do maximum damage, having a turn for setup where you get to go in, clear their chaff, fight a couple small units, and then recalibrate and buff, and then pick your exact fight you want, right, for maximum impact, means the double is innately strong. You with me so far?
Yep.
Okay. Point the third. Priority target generally hits 50% of the enemy army, further increasing damage. So your main hammer is usually just picking priority target. This is a seasonal thing, but it's true right now, so it just is a fact of life. Right?
Yep.
And it's absolutely an emergent property Inquisitor of the current season, because like I'm mentioning priority target here, right? I'm mentioning like the nature of like some of this is some season, some of this is fundamentals. It's a mix of both, but the stew has come together to cause this. Regardless of what the purpose is, it's where we are right now. Okay. So priority target's usually hitting about 50% of the enemy army, further increasing damage. So your hammer unit is always on +1 to hit and wound, which just makes them even further scary, right? Unless somebody's like has the ability to just like abandon their general's regiment, okay? Which I'll talk about this in a second. Okay, so that just takes everything I just said and makes it worse. It's an accelerator for everything I just said. Point the fourth. Underdog gives you additional power. You can often go into the double with 5 CP and the ability to use the battle plan rules to hurt them, right? So by you going second, you have perfect control over your scoring. You can choose to be just perfectly underdog to play for the double, okay? And if you get it, then you're on 5 CP and you're underdog, and you can, in like 5 of the 12 battle plans, you can absolutely break their back with just the battle plan rule alone. Like pull one of their objectives or do something else that's terrible and gives you a huge advantage. Right?
Yep.
Okay. So it gives you perfect control in this. Point 5. The sort of kind of emergent of all the rest of these things. Breaking their hammer and key characters on the double kills their army. That's it. They're dead. You don't need to table them to table them. If you catch their hammer flat-footed and you kill their 1 or 2 key characters, their army's done. Most of the cheating utility, what I mean by cheating is like your ability to play outside the rules and play like highly competitive, is seeded into a very few key core heroes. Right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are enabling the shenanigans, for lack of a better explanation. If they're lifted and their hammer's dead, their main hammer is dead, okay? Their army's gone. It doesn't matter if you've only actually lifted 1,000 points. That 1,000 points they have left isn't going to kill you. It's you still have nearly 2,000 left. And it's not just a 1 to 2,000 question. It's a they only have a bunch of prospectors left because that's how they had to build their list to go get gold, right? And do other things like that, right? Yeah. So they have a bunch of garbage left, and you have your main hammer left, right? These 5 reasons is why. Now, who can take advantage of this? Units, like armies that are great at hitting hard with hard hammers, okay? Yeah. Because this isn't like an everybody thing. If you're Nurgle, you can ignore everything I just said. If you're Soul Blight, you can ignore everything I just said, probably. There's a few builds where you can do it, but for the most part, you're not playing this game.
Yeah.
Right? Like, board control attrition armies don't get to play this game. There's like maybe 5 armies in the meta, like SPG, Nurgle, who else is kind of an attrition-y thing? Probably OBR, depending on the build. If you're like heavy Death Riders, it's not the case.
Would you say that Trolls is an attrition army, given their regen and replacement of units? And like, because they're
probably, yeah, you don't
grindy.
need to, like, Trolls probably not playing this game. They don't really need to, you know, like, they hit hard, but that's not like they don't hit super hard. They win in attrition fights, right? They just never die. So yeah, like, if you don't have the hard hitting hammers, if that's not your strat, this strategy doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Now, your logical response might be, yeah, but Vince, okay, in response to this, I'll just not do these things. So what I mean here is, like, I just won't go to 2 drops. I'll build more drops. I'll evacuate things out of my general's regiment, right? I will, you know what I mean? Like, yada, da, 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 da. So hence I can nullify some of these things, right? And my answer is, yeah, you can do that. Cool. I didn't need the double. If you make a bunch of subpar choices, right, to counter this, I'll just not take the double. I'll just let the game play normally, where I already have the advantage. Because I had control. I'm controlling the tempo. So I've made you play how I want. Right? Like, I've already won in your list building. I'm already winning. Right? So it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. That's the problem. If you build like this, I can take the double and win. If you don't build like this, then you've subparred your army to my advantage, to my benefit. There you go. I wanted to break that out because I really wanted everybody to kind of understand my thinking as to why, you know, 5. Why are these 5 reasons why it's worse now than it's ever been? This is why. Okay. So there you go. That's my thoughts. Any disagreement, Tom, or did I miss anything?
No. I mean, I think it's dead on. Yeah.
Yeah. And exactly, like, you don't need the 4 victory points. You only tend to score 4 battle tactics anyways. And if you break the army, you scored 1 turn 1, and then you get 1s 3, 4, 5 easy because they're dead. So cool. Like, easy money, right? So Becker said, if you play 5 under CP and don't win the double, can that lose you the game? Well, you don't need to be 5 under. I just need to be like 2 under to get underdog, right? So if I'll be like 2 under, and if I don't get the double, okay, I'll still set myself up. I'm still in whatever position I'm in, right? I'm expecting you I'm expecting not to get it. But if I can, I'll take it, right? Like, I don't lose instantly. I just didn't get that battle tactic. Realistically, I can easily still win the game. Like, being down 2 is no big deal, right? Because then I don't auto drop a battle tactic if I don't get the double. I'm just down 2 points. Who cares? You're going to be down 2 points in almost every game at some point. So, whatever. Doom and Darkness saying, I 100% agree, Vince. Hey, very good. CW says, subpar only if you don't know how to play going first every game. I mean, there's more to it than that. It's not just the go first. There's a lot more happening than that, CW.
Yeah.
Yes, that is one element. There is a lot more elements than that, right? Like, there's a reason this has become the thing. It's because for most armies, this is the most powerful construction, right? Taking 6 Varangard and making them priority target and then watching them kill the world is like a pretty strong, with like Archeon or Bellicor, is pretty strong, right? And so on and so forth. So, at any rate, there's my notes on the double turn. I wanted to really break down the thinking here for everybody, so everybody could get into it and understand where I'm coming from. Again, this is all stuff that could be corrected. This could be fixed in the next season. This could be fixed in a battle scroll. This doesn't have to be the world we live in, right?
Yep.
I'm just pointing at facts on the ground right now. All of this is eminently correctable. Okay? Like, we could fix underdog, so it's not as easy to achieve. That would be a great start. You have to be down more points, right? you know, we could do away with the dumb you don't get a battle tactic if you take the double and make it something else. Okay, yeah. We could pick a different type of thing. Like, there's lots of choices we could make. Okay. Okay. We being the GW game designers. Anything else on this, Tom, before we leave the double turn behind? I know that was a little bit of a rant.
No, it's good. I think it's problematic, obviously, and I think that it's not easily solved.
Yeah. Justin Crandall, does it matter change your thought at tournaments that place based on points? No. No. Because, I mean, I'll drop 4 points. Like, 46 is a completely reasonable, or whatever. Most people don't get 50. Most battle plans, some battle plans you can't even get 50. Because of just, like, the nature of how many objectives are available or whatever that you can reasonably get. So, no, I mean, I'll do this and easily score out into the 40s, which will be just fine. Like, I'll still be easily at the top of it. Yep, I agree. Kuhal. I think that is correct. Yeah, there are definitely some armies that can handle an opponent pulling this trick better than others, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Find the right army. I want to talk about this, Tom. Find the right army. I had a long talk with Tyler on the way home. I mean, we talked for like 4 hours or something. It was a long part of the drive. And it was good to catch up with him. We miss him. Shout out to Tyler. Drop Tyler a comment if you're watching this later that says we miss you if you miss him. Hit like for Tyler. Do all those things. And it occurred to me, Tom, that like what I really learned from Nashcon and playing my Slaanesh is that I don't like playing Slaanesh anymore.
Well, you haven't liked playing Slaanesh for a while.
Yeah. But like it really sealed the deal for me. Okay. I was like, oh, I get it now. This just isn't an army for me anymore. Like, my time with this army is over. And maybe that'll change again someday. Maybe a book release, next edition, but it's done. What their vision is of Slaanesh is not a thing I'm interested in playing. I don't know what their vision is. I don't know what they want it to be, but it's not what I want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I feel that in my bones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I have armies that I've played that the direction that they have went is just not in accord with where I've been at.
Yeah, I mean, it occurred to me that I really, like, finding the right army in 4.0 is so important because of how direct the connection is on playstyle now, right? Like, it's so strongly influenced. They are putting you down play patterns really strongly in some of these indices, right? Mm-hmm. And that has to mesh with what you want to do. And how, and like the psychographic sort of profile and what you draw value from, etc. And it's funny because Tyler was talking to me on the way back and he's like, well, have you played Doc? And I was like, I played a sample game and we were doing the index reviews and it was fine. He's like, yeah, but have you really played Doc? And I was like, not really. And he's like, because I think Doc is the Slaanesh army you want to play. Right? Like, they've got the Snake Ladies. They just have Crit Mortal. They have Marathi. It's like, he's like, it's what you actually want to be doing. Right? Like, that's actually the army you want. Yeah. And I was like, huh. I was like, I've had a lot of fun playing my Skaven. So, like, the most fun I've had so far is when I play my Skaven and play my Sons. So far. Okay? And I've played multiple different Skaven armies, and legitimately, Tom, I have loved playing every one of them. Like a Scryer heavy army, a Molder heavy army, a Verminous heavy army. I had a fun time with each of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would just like, and the only reason I didn't take that to term is because I don't have my new Skaven army painted, right? Otherwise I would have. I'll take it next year. Sons is just like legitimately fun for me. It's fun to play big stompy giants that just go around and like smash the living crap out of stuff, right? So yeah, I've just got. I have a Doc army I'm very proud of and how I painted it. Maybe it's just time to. I got to do the. I've played Tom, I realized that barring Fire Slayers, okay, at this point after the tournament, I have either played or played against every army other than Fire Slayers.
Nice.
Okay.
You want to borrow Fire Slayer army?
No, God, no. Definitely not. I'm happy to let that just ride. Okay.
You're like, I won't ever encounter them.
Sorry, Fire Slayers and IDK. I'm lying. Fire Slayers and IDK. Those are the two, because nobody in my group has IDK either. Apologize. That's the other one. It's made me so, because I've had to do this for the show and doing the index reviews and all of that, right? It made me jump around a lot, and like I haven't got a chance to like really get to know a single army and like really fall in love with it in the new edition, really understand it and its nuts and bolts. So what I'm looking forward to now is doing that, and I put these 4 up because these were the 4 I was thinking about. Like I think there's an S2D list I could run. Like if I want to run Slaanesh, I'm just gonna run a Slaanesh S2D list. I have a bunch of Slaanesh S2D. Just run those. That's my Slaanesh army now, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've got Varangard, I've got Chaos Knights, I've got Be'lakor, and they're all converted to be Slaanesh stuff. Why not?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do want to play some Doc Army. I wrote up a Doc Army I really liked. So, like, I was like, yeah, it fit right where I wanted it to fit. And then I want to play a lot more Skaven, like, especially with the book coming, right? So I think that it's so important in this edition to find an army that like actually speaks to you. So my recommendation is like I've had to be really sclerotic is my point, going through like 20 different armies, right? And it's been disorienting. But I'm happy now that we're through this and I can now like kind of focus up. And I really think I'm gonna like try to focus in on finding or rotating through or finding my favorite among kind of 3 or 4 of these, right? Something like that. So yeah. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I think that finding something that accords with your play style is really important. I mean, for me, like I've been playing Cruel Boys almost exclusively up until this point, and I will do that through Havoc for sure. But if I'm honest, I don't know that I want to return to a slot machine army.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because you've been focused on Cruel Boys, but it doesn't align with your personality very well. Like, you have enough spike. It is a Johnny-ish army, no doubt, and that does align. But you have enough spike in your mix, and Spike hates that random roll. So yeah, I want to where are you living on that?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I enjoy playing it because it's my like YOLO, right? Like, let's do this. It's my fun, laid back. Like, I can play Cruel Boys, can be competitive-ish, can have some tricks, but it's still going to come down to, can I roll that 2 up, 3 up, 4 up? Right, when I need it. Because sometimes you just don't, and then everything goes out the window and it goes sideways, which is fine. Like, that can happen, and you can mitigate that in some instances, but sometimes you just can't with that army. Like, and there's honestly not a deep bench there. The army that I have is basically the army that everybody else has, and I don't see that there's another way to make it. I think that there may be, I don't know, there might be a couple other slight variations. Again, it's the 1,500 points, 1,600 points are the same, and then mix some of the rest of it. So that's where I'm at with that army, and I just don't think that there's the build that I like. There's not a lot of variation. So let me say that. If I'm honest, I'm most drawn to Lumineth right now.
Okay.
And actually like a Venari heavy Lumineth, not the Huracan like cheat earth stuff. And so, but I'm loath to jump into that and finish my Lumineth. Just like I have a good 1,500 points painted, but I already have outlined exactly what I'd want and what I need to paint, what conversions I'd need to do for it. But I want to wait and watch the bat swing.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Lumineth are going to get hit with something. Yeah, they're outside.
Lumineth are going to get hit with something, and so the question is are the things that I want to do and things I want to play, are those the things that are going to take the hit or not?
Yeah.
Right. Because they do have my attention, and I would love to play them, and I know they have the right toolbox for me. And we built a board that is a beautiful board for competitive seasons that I haven't taken to anything. right?
Yep.
Like that's been on the shelf for the last 3 years or whatever it was when we, I don't know when we did it, but it's been a while. Um, and so I know exactly when we did it. We did it in 21. So it's been on the shelf for 3 years at this point. And so it's the question of like, I'd love to be able to take that and do the circuit. And I love my paint scheme and I love all of that of what it is. And I think that it has the techiness that I want and I would love to play with. That said, I do know a nerf is coming. It's the same
Sure.
reason why I never deployed, like I didn't dive into Night Haunt. Like I have basically what I would need to run the best of the best right now with Night Haunt, like already painted, like it's basically already done. But it's not interesting to me, and there's no longevity there.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I think that's the key for me. Like I want there to be a future to playing that army. Like I'm not going to invest time and energy if I know a nerf is coming. And so for Lumineth, like I want to at least see what the first War Scroll brings before I commit to anything.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
so those are the things that have grabbed my attention. I kind of like Zinch, although I don't like how fit like the way that I would want to play Zinch isn't the predominant way, and so I think it would just be problematic.
there's probably a lot of gas in like a Xangor heavy list, which I think is what you'd want to do.
It is what I'd want to do. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, and like I think
So
that's actually the fun Zinch. I think the part that doesn't work is the spellcasty castle double chicken. I will tell you the same thing. I've mentioned this in like a group chat we're in, but like on going back to this picture real quick. Where's it at? Here it is. Okay, this table right here is table two. Table two was Disciples of Zinch against Night Haunt, and the Night Haunt were played by Leo. Leo's a great player. He ended up taking best overall. He didn't get to accept his sword because he like literally had to get on a flight to fly that after game 5, right? It was like he had to head out immediately, which was a shame. But he played a great game. But like watching the Zinch player play, it felt like the end scene from V for Vendetta when like all the guys surround V in the subway tunnel, and he's like, "What are you gonna do? All you've got is your fancy knives and your karate." And V says, "No, Lieutenant, what you have are bullets, and the hope that when they are gone, I will no longer be standing." Right? And then they all shoot him, and he is still standing, and then he says, "My turn," and he kills them all. Right? And that's what I felt watching the Night Haunt player play Zinch, because it was like, no, what you have are spells, and the hope that when your hero phase is done, I will no longer be standing. Spoiler, they are, you're dead. It was like watching this inevitable tide just move forward and sweep over and consume Zinch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I played a spell heavy, like range heavy Zinch, and I swarmed over it with Cool Boys.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't even have a lot of I have models, right? Like I have lots of 2 wound bodies, and there's enough wound saturation there that like he just couldn't lift enough before I got into him. And once I got into him, that was the game. Like pick up your toys, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, I do imagine, Bethalco, I do imagine that the Nerf bat will be coming quite soon and quite hard for Night Haunt. And rightly so. They are so far bent and out of the pocket right now. They are by far the most bent army. So I don't think it'll swing hard enough the first time. I think we're gonna need to hit them when they're down a few times. Okay. Yeah, I just think ultimately my summation point is because these indexes are so highly set to particular play patterns and like they sort of allow for certain very particular play patterns only, you really have to find the army that matches to how you want to play the game, right?
So I agree with that. I struggle with it because it just feels like a real step backwards in the design of these armies, where before we often had indexes that had 2 to 3 ways that they could be built and played. And now it feels like almost every army that is good has one way to play.
Right.
And anybody that has 2 or more ways to play, it's because there isn't an actual solution to be
Yeah, there's no
found.
like, there's just, it can't be solved because there's nothing that's that good.
Yeah, there's
Right.
no path
Yeah.
forward. And so like I don't know how we got here from where we were in 3.0. Like
Sure.
obviously I know like this is the consequences of a compendium edition.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like this is what happens. But we haven't had to deal with this for 9 years.
For a while. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so like we're just at the messy point of the beginning of sharpening the knife.
Yep. Agreed.
And so I just it's frustrating to be back here again.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Well, I wanted to leave everybody on a positive note. Look, I am legitimately excited to like keep playing with these armies you see up here. Like I am excited to put that dock list on the table. I want to give it a try. I think it's going to be really fun. I am really excited to get back to playing my Skaven now that I don't have to now that I'm not playing Slaanesh. And boy, there's so many Skaven lists I want to try. Like I'll tell you, Tom, for list building, Skaven continues to be a dream. Yes, nothing in Skaven is bent. There's no single like winners and stuff. But the fact that we've got a bunch of new units too that are going to get in the mix with the new book, right? We saw from the preview. It just has me really excited because already with the index, I really do think Skaven's highly competitive. I mean, the stats don't say as much. The stats say they're pretty garbo. But like, I think it's an army that responds very well to player skill, and the army just speaks to me. I don't know why. Like, it's everything I like doing in a game. I like big effects. I like big swings. I like big rats, and I cannot lie. Okay, but to leave everybody on a happy note, Tom, are you ready for story time? That's right, okay. Tom. You didn't even know it. Ambush story time. That's right, Tom. You thought you were going to escape? Wrong. Story time is here. Folks, you might be wondering what's happening in the world. Well, Book 6, The Hounds of Chaos. That's right, this happened like months ago. And we're finally here. We had a moment where we didn't have to cover these indexes. Boom. We're going to talk about it. All right. So,
can you do this quickly?
Yeah, probably relative. Honestly, yes. Because this isn't a lot. Okay. Let's talk about story time. Let us return to the Dawnbringer Crusades. The story of the stupidest people in the mortal realms doing the most pointless thing they possibly could for no benefit. All right. Great. So, if you remember, Tom, we left off with the cities of Verdigris and Gairan and Embergard in Akshi being founded. Yes?
It's been 4 months. I don't remember any of this.
All right. Well, Esquilia Thorn led her way through orcs and giants and a bunch of things, and then got through did the whole FEC Usharon thing, and then eventually got through the neck and founded the city of Verdigris, surrounded on 3 sides by mountains with defensive walls that they built up on the other side, with fresh springs of Aqua Gyranus, a beautiful, lush, perfect plain. But to the north, at the other end of the peninsula, a vast storm of chaos was building on the horizon. Embergard, a city that they built over the place where the Red Keep teleports in every 14 years or whatever to have a fight, to have a punch-up. They decided to build their city there, only to have Reichnor the Grimhailer show up with all of his undead, and then Pontifex Zenestra did this thing you see here on the screen and drove them all away, right? As she tapped into the ultimate power, okay? So they had to fight barbarians and a bunch of other stuff, and they got helped by Fire Slayers, and they got helped by the Black Talons and all of that, right? So, okay, that's where we pick up. Those cities are founded, and it seems but danger is on the horizon. Okay, let us start, Tom, in Gairan. The verdant plain of life. What do we have here? Well, we just launched right into it. Abraxia is attacking Verdigris. She's just she ain't messing around. She's getting way into it. She's got the Swords of Chaos, her Varangard. She knows the meta. Okay. The story starts with a metagame because she's just got reinforced units of Varangard double piling in left and right, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they are kicking the crap out of the cities. Iskelia Thorn is up there just like slowly turning more into a tree and like, I'm a tree, what's wrong with me? Like, whatever. Like, you're becoming a tree. How do you not? I don't know why she's still confused. Like, it's pretty obvious. And she's like, I keep hearing this horn, but no one else hears it. Why am I the only one who hears the horn? Are you for real, lady? Okay. Like, the hunt, the main guy from the hunt shows up and blows a horn. Like, it's, okay. Anyways, so, at the beginning of the story, there was a group of knights, like the Cavaliers, the Golden Perch or something. Doesn't matter. They had went to clear out a bunch of FEC. And they had gotten infected with some of Usharon's madness. Yeah, like the delusion. So she has sequestered them away. Like, so they can, because it hasn't taken hold yet, right? So they're separated in solitude to, like, contemplate and receive Aqua Gyranus and hopefully halt the spread of it, right? But that takes one of her major cavalry lines out of the fight, right? And then the Varangard are breaking through, and she's like, well, we gotta pull the trigger. So she sends out the infected knights, who make a bold and glorious charge into Abraxia and the Swords of Chaos, only to be just completely cut down. Okay, like they're pointless.
Checks out.
Yeah, which feels very correct. At any rate, she uses her big, dumb, mutating spear and, like, cuts a swordsman in half, or cuts a knight in half. And then she's like, ah! She's just, like, drinking all the blood of the dude as she cuts him in half and is like, I love murder, I love chaos, yay! Right? She's, like, super excited about it. Okay, but there's a problem, Tom. That blood. Why, it's tainted. And Abraxia is now infected with the madness because apparently it's that strong. How Usharon hasn't just taken over the entire mortal realms, I don't know. That is wild. He can lightly, like, that dude had the sniffles effectively, right? She tasted a few drops of blood on her tongue. Boom, she's full on in the madness, right? Okay. So she starts, like, seeing her seeing her own knights. Like, she's looking to the side at the Swords of Chaos, and they become beautiful shining silver knights, like with regal wings and stuff, and like defenders of truth and justice. And she's like, I have to fight for that which is holy and sacred. And then she's like, wait, what am I thinking? No, I'm evil, I'm a bad person. Okay. Like, she's trying to fight through and remain evil. Right? Remain, like, consciously evil, as it were, right? So it's just a very funny situation she's gotten herself into by killing them all. So Verdigree's about to get wrecked when all of a sudden, Tom, my favorite words in the Dawnbringers Crusade, all of a sudden, the 4 words we'll hear the most often in this series. Mana! And Belthanos comes out with the Evergreen Hunt, and he's like, yo, on the way here, you wrecked a bunch of woods. Like, okay. Sure. I understand. They like, pretend to take this seriously. Like, modern environmentalism, right? Like, Belthanos, sure. Like, yeah, they wrecked some woods on the Vertigree getting here. Like, they literally just carved a path and burned and destroyed everything on the way there. Because she was, like, building fear. But, like, you're on the plane of life. It's infinite woods in basically every direction. Okay? You really taking this seriously? She burned up like 5 miles of woods. You know? I'm just saying. Anywho. He shows up and he's pissed. Okay? And he's got a bunch of Sylvaneth with him. And, you know, they get in a fight. And Belthanos sees that she's at the lead, and he's like, I'm coming for you. And she looks at him and she sees like a twisted undead abomination with like flesh hanging from him and stuff like that. And she looks down at her own arms, and it's like glorious, covered in silver mail. And she's like, I gotta get out of here. I'm freaking out, man. Okay. So she bounces. She just like retreats the field. All right. And so she just like she like takes a bunch of the Swords of Chaos and like bounces. A few of them stay around. They won't, because the Varangard are only like 50-50 listen to her. They're like, yeah, we follow Archeon, and you're like not really that guy, so maybe go piss off. So the rest of them just kind of hang around and fight and eventually die, right?
Mm-hmm.
She goes back to her encampment. She like does a little ritual so she can talk to Archeon. She calls Archeon on the phone. She has like a mystical cell phone that she can call Archeon on, which I love. Okay. So she calls up Archeon on the mystic cell phone. And, you know, she sees like the burning three eyes. And what I love about the way they write Archeon, because he talks quite a bit in this, I do genuinely enjoy any time he talks, because he talks like he is completely over it. Okay? He talks like I'm talking right now. Like, he is just does not care. Like, he is...
Are you sure you're not reading your voice into it?
Like, a little, I'm sure. But he speaks just like he doesn't speak like the Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse. He's just like, he's just very over it, okay? That's his general tone.
Sure.
All right. And I really just think it's funny when he speaks. And so like I'll just Grand Marshal, the voice of Archeon dripped with disdain. I presume you understand the complexity of the plans from which you now distract me. Right? Like, he's chiding her. And she's like, I know you conspire all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. She uses all this flowery language. And then he just, like, laughs. He, like, just laughs at her. And he says, some curse rise within you. Purge it, lest I cease to have use for you. And do so swiftly. The Lord of the Hunt still seeks your head. Like, he just knows fully what's going on, right? Because of the eye and all that. He's just like, yo, Belthanos is still trying to kill you. Maybe do something about it. He's like, go fix yourself. What's the matter with you? So she's like, okay, I gotta fix myself. The only way I can get rid of this curse, apparently, is to go get the fire from Phoenicium. Okay? So she convinces Archeon this is a good play. I'm going to go kill one of the original cities of Sigmar. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, sure. I guess that's the answer. Why not? Archeon's like, yo, I heard these... or Abraxia's like, yo, I heard they want to cut these models from the range and send them back to the old world. Or whatever. So I gotta go destroy Phoenicium now. Okay? And he's like, yo, whatever, cool with me, I guess. I got other things going on. Stop bothering me. Don't text me next time. Don't call me. Okay? So then Battlestar Galactica Season 3 drops into Phoenicium. I'm not joking. Okay? She takes all of her Varangard, who she still has, and all the other forces of chaos, and warps, like jumps, using chaos magic, slingshots herself over the city of Phoenicium, and then just like rides magical chaos energy down into the city with her non-flying Varangard. They all just like ride the lightning, this warp storm and weird flame down into the city to get over the walls, which is apparently something they can do. It's like that picture of the Varangard all flying.
Yep.
They were like, this is a thing we can just do now. So she's up in the air fighting like phoenixes and the whatever the master of the temple is and so on, right?
See, that's some bullshit.
Yeah. It is, yes. So she hot drops into the city, Galactica into the Cylon encampment style, right? And then she like she lands in, kills a bunch of the phoenixes or whatever, right? There's some back and forth, but this is just like, okay, when Anvilgard fell, it was like a big deal, right?
Yeah,
and
it was a momentous piece of the narrative.
Yeah, it went on for like a while. Tom, Phoenix, the Phoenicium falls in like 2 pages.
That hurts my soul, given that I ran that army.
Yeah. I love the Phoenicium. Just like narratively, I thought it was like the coolest place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The Phoenicium, like Ella and Ella are there, by the way. They show up before this all goes down. So the twins are there along with a big force of Lumineth. And, basically what happens is Abraxia kills, Tolareth is like the name of the whatever the Phoenix Lord is that's there. He, like, his Phoenix gets killed and turns into ash and doesn't come back, I guess, because that's just what happens now. They forgot how to do that. And so she hot drops in. Basically, they just, like, defile a bunch of the city so that the Phoenix magic stops. And then she rides into the temple, and the Lord bonds with the Earthflame and becomes like a living phoenix, and then she kills him and eats him. She eats him to eat the Earthflame to burn out her madness, right? Like, so she has to literally eat a flaming phoenix man.
So the Earthflame cures her madness.
Well, we'll get there in a second. Okay, but that's the idea of it. Yes, her idea is that if she eats the Earthflame, it will cure her madness. That's her idea. Yes. Meanwhile, Ella and Ella have taken a small spark of the Earthflame, and they have snuck away in the tunnels, and like they got away. Okay, and they're like, "Yo, dog, we got to get out of here before they start chasing down people who are leaving." And
you know what? You know what that was? Yo, dog, we need that new Lumineth book coming with Tyrion and his Phoenix people.
Yeah. I mean, there's where's it at here? I'm trying to find the, sorry, hold on. I want to find the exact little line here for you, Tom, because this is people like when they heard they were taking away the Earthflame, I was like, oh, neat. Maybe eventually we can get like new Phoenix units, right? The Phoenix Reborn.
Right.
Elania gave a sigh. There is a cycle to all things, brother. This you know. Rebirth may yet come. And I was like, oh, cool. No, Elithor said, as a spire fell with a stately, mournful crash. Not this time, sister. Taking a deep breath, flexing his grip around Altari, he glanced at his sibling. Within Elania's caged fingers, white light danced. Only a fledgling ember had been prized from the Phoenix's flame. The rest of that godly blaze had refused to vacate its shrine. She now carried all that remained, and it was a long road back to Haish. So apparently, like, I think what it opened the door for is like the Phoenicium's dead forever, the Phoenix units are dead forever, but we have a little bit of the like a spark of the Phoenix's flame. So in the future, we can do a Lumineth redesign of the Phoenix units.
Correct. And that's what I was saying. Like, that'll be Tyrion's aesthetics, which works out because that's the aesthetics that my Lumineth have gone for, and that I'm going to do with my techless conversion. So.
Yep. And that's literally everything that happens in Ghyran. End of story. It was just like that. It was the most pointless nothing. It was just like, hey, we've got to kill this city because we don't sell the models anymore. So we'll teleport in Abraxia and a bunch of Erengard and have them destroy the Phoenix and the entire city in the span of like 5 paragraphs. Great.
# disappointed.
Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, over in Akshi, Vandus is running around looking for Korgus Cole. He kills the last of Cole's lieutenants. Korgus Cole is chilling looking for Vandus. They're like 2 star-crossed lovers that just can't find each other, okay? But they really want to. They really want to meet up. They need to, like, they've got to hit each other up on Grindr. I just mean, it was like, they need to put a note in the paper that's like, I missed, the missed connections or whatever,
Yep.
Okay. And so, I didn't say it at the beginning, but by the way, hit like, or I said it earlier. I did, reminding everybody I turned on super chat and all that. If you want to super chat anything, you can. You don't have to. It's fine. I'm reading all the comments, and thank you for all the great commentary. I just forgot that I should say that. You're supposed to say those things. Anywho, okay, but here's the great plan. So we pick up our point of view characters for this entire journey. Tom is really going to be Gunnar. Gunnar Brand. You know what I'm talking about? The Dark Oath guy. He's one of the, he's like the named, he's got the weird little wizard with him with the funny head, right?
Doesn't he have a cartoon? So
what's that?
Doesn't he have a cartoon?
A cartoon?
Like, isn't he on Warhammer Plus?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Is he? I don't know. But
is he the one that has the show?
It could be. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it's this guy. There you go. Gunnar Brand, that dude, Insignia's daughter. Like, it's a family affair, right? It's like a family of barbarians. They're all Dark Oath tribes and stuff like that. Okay. So, anyways, you have like most of the story focuses on like these 5 characters that they're the leaders of the tribe and his family, and so Gunnar ends up being like most of our point of view character. Okay. Because very early on, like Vandus does his thing, and he kills the last lieutenant, and then they eventually like Gavriel has to go out to make it to Embergard, and whatever, like stuff is happening, and then he gets caught by Kull, and then Kull and Gavriel have a fight, and like remember Gavriel is trying to claim a Lord Celestant, or sorry, Kull is trying to claim a Lord Celestant. Gavriel gets in a fight. The two of them are matched blade for blade. He's like having to dodge the reality splitting axe. Okay. And he notices a pattern in how Kull fights. And he dodges it, opens himself up, like, and cuts Kull directly across the throat. Like literally completely eviscerates Kull's throat from side to side. After killing his dog, by the way. Like, his dog is dead at this point. Okay. And as Kull is choking on his own blood and dying, he backswings the axe through Gavriel Sherhart's neck, killing him, and reality splits him. So his soul never goes back to Aesir, and his head falls to the ground, and he's completed his mission. Okay.
Which, at the end of the day, they had to get rid of that model too.
Yeah. Like, hey, Gavriel's gone. So, and like, this is happening as Vandus is trying to fight Gavriel, or trying to fight Kull, but can't. Like, Vandus is charging at Kull like a lunatic. Like, he's just screaming Kull's name. He is possessed of, like, pure fury and madness, okay? He's the lunatic. Kull responds by getting, like, cold, and instead turns to fight Gavriel. And, like, all of Kull's dudes just swarm Vandus and slow him down. So he has to just, like, if they're not stopping him, he's just, like, taking him multiple out with every hammer swing, but he can't get to Kull. And by the time he clears the horde, Kull falls to the ground, choking on his own blood, dying, and then he ignites, his flesh peels off, like wings sprout, and then he turns into a scorpion, and then he turns into something else, and he's just like mutating and changing, and then the world explodes. Okay? Because Gunnar, our point of view character, we learn what's actually been going on across the Parch. And basically what's been happening is that all of the different Dark Oath tribes have gotten power, have been given power by a strange rat creature, a strange, powerful rat creature that teleports into the shadows amongst them and says, like, yo, I'll hook you up, dog. All you gotta do is build this dark nexus using warpstone over these ley lines. Just keep building these things. And he's doing this with all of the tribes, all across the Parch.
He's like, hey, dog, just smoke this rock. It's okay.
Exactly. You got some more rocks? So he hooks them up with these rocks, and they build all these rocks, okay, all over they're building these, like, they're basically poisoning all the ley lines in the Great Parch, right? And Gunnar's like, hey, so all the tribes are meeting up, and he's like, hey, where's Urvok or Urlok or something, whatever, like another Dark Oath tribe leader's name, right? And they're like, I know everybody's like, I don't know. They're like, well, let's go find this dude. This is his land. He's supposed to be here. This is like, there's supposed to be a meeting of all the tribal leaders. Let's go to his tribe, to their home, and find out, right? Because these guys are just tribesmen. They're like, they worship the dark gods kind of like just to survive. They're like, you know, they're not like big fans of chaos. They just like need to live. So they ride there and they find the whole village massacred, right? And dead ratmen around. Okay. And Gunnar's like, this is what they had planned for us all along. Once we finish their task, they're just going to kill us. Well, we're going to kill them first. We got to get to the center of this warpstone, like the warpstone factory. And so he's like, so Gunnar does a Fast and the Furious or something. He likes it's gonna be we're gonna get in, we're gonna get the warpstone, we're gonna get out. Okay, we're gonna blow the place up. Like, they want to go in, blow the place, get out. That's their plan. Yep. Okay. Yep. So all the Dark Oath get their way in. There's like a bunch of irrelevant fights, right? Like, that happen. it's fun to watch. Like the way they write the fighting of Gunnar and his tribe is pretty cool. Like Gunnar's clearly a very adept warrior, and they do write him well. Like he and his interactions with his family are actually interesting. Like they actually have character. They feel very real. But yeah, it's because they got family. They cross the family, so it's time we do a Fast and Furious, right?
Yeah.
And so, but they are well written. Like I do actually like the like Gunnar and those crew. I found them actually like, oh, these are some of the first characters I've read that are like interesting because they feel like they have real emotional connections to the world and to other people in the story. Since it's like his daughter he's fighting with and his, his friends and stuff like that. They make their way in, they kill a bunch of Skaven, and then all the Skaven mutate and form together and run into a giant being, and it's Lord Screech. And like a bunch of the tribesmen, their heads just explode as soon as they look on Lord Screech, and Gunnar's just like there, and Screech is like, psych. Like, look, man, this is nothing. What you're doing right now is nothing. It doesn't matter. Check it out. The bell tolled 13 times. It's all already happening. I didn't care. I expected you sooner. I thought you were going to think we were traitors and come try to kill us faster. But it really doesn't matter that you're here now. You're beyond late. We were going to kill you all, but frankly, you were so slow to cop to what's happening. Yeah, I don't really care anymore. And then, like, boom, the Skaven Blight explosion happens, right? So then we catch back up to the other story. Like, and so a huge part of the world is just obliterated as Skaven Blight comes up and billions of rats pour forth.
Did we lose any cities in Skaven Blight's eruption?
Yeah, a bunch of small cities, but not any of the major ones. Like, it doesn't come up under. It comes in vision of, like, Hammerhall can see where it is, because it's now on, like, the edge of the mountain range, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't. You get a cool map in here that actually places it. I don't know where the heck the map is, but you do get a cool, like, actual layout of what it looks like. Yeah, I don't know. Where is the map? There it is. Okay, so I don't know if you can really see this, but like, see, this is Hammerhall here. Okay, This was Emberguard.
Yep.
This is everything that was like, right on the other side of the adamantine chain. Anywho, so, Screech is like, yeah, listen, you don't matter anymore, and like, I don't really care. I got stuff to do. And he basically talks about how he's gonna turn traitor on Archeon as well eventually. Like, he kind of subtly implies that, like, Archeon won't try. We'll learn to trust the knife in his own hand, is what he says, something to that effect, right? Effectively before it stabs him in the back, like, which is an interesting, whatever. And so then he's like, tell you what, why don't you get out of here and tell everybody what I'm all about? Like, okay, sure. So Gunnar and his family leave and they ride out. And, he's like, look, I did all this at Archeon's behest. Your boss did this. What did it actually destroy, by the way, Tom? You asked, like, what cities it destroyed? All of the Dark Oath lands.
Interesting. Okay.
So all of the Dark Oath lands were just ravaged. Tribes destroyed. Okay? Like, just leveled. Like, Gunnar comes out on top of a mountain and looks across the lands that the Dark Oath claim, like all the tribes he's ever known. And they're gone. It's ruin. Right? They're all dead. And I was like, it'd be really cool if we got a hero turn here. If he was like, you know what? I swear, I will kill Archeon and every rat and stuff like that. Like, go Gunnar. And he says, like, I'm like, turn against the Chaos Gods. Like, suit up with somebody else, Gunnar. There's other people in this world who will give you power. Right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And he basically does like a Crom thing instead. He's like, Dark Gods give me power for an oath of vengeance, or to hell with you, right? Is what he did. The kind of thing is what he does. Yeah. He swears an oath of vengeance, and it's like, okay. If you're just going to be another boring Chaos guy trying to kill another Chaos guy, that's not interesting. You could have done something interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
You could have been like, I'm with the Fire Slayers now. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. Like, join up with, it doesn't have to be order. I don't know. Join up with, like, I don't know. Go see what go see what go see what the orcs are up to. They're probably
The Iron
you
Jaws.
seem like you
Yeah.
could crump. Like they'd probably accept you into the tribe, you know? Oh, you're a little weedy, but you're real good at punching things. Like, okay, you're in, you know? I don't know. They seem like an accepting bunch. The you must be this tall to join this ride is can you like hit and punch things pretty hard. Those guys seem like they could clear it. Anyways, so then we get our summary stuff. Okay, so like that's it.
Yeah.
All right, so then summary, sort of the outcome of all of this. We pick up with Ionis, who has flown in, and wait, is it Ionis who's gone to Embergard? No, sorry, it's not Ionis. I apologize. We pick up with what's her name? The matriarch of the Parch, the city's boss.
Oh,
city's
the
boss.
wheel lady.
No. The martial leader. The one on the Manticore.
The
Vedra.
one magic card. Oh, Vedra. Thalia?
Thalia, yeah. Thalia Vedra.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. It's the magic card, yeah. Yeah, Nagash would totally accept you. Absolutely. Yeah. Roll over and see what the Lord of Death is up to. He's probably accepting. Yeah, Thalia Vedra. Okay. So she lands in Embergard because she's like, you know, trying to figure out what's happened here because they stopped getting word. And she lands and everybody's dead and the whole city's empty. And then like a couple of shambling people come out of the shadows and they've blinded themselves. And they're like, we didn't believe in the wheel enough. Zenestra has left us. She left us because our faith was weak. The wheel turns and it should grind us all. It should grind us all. And she's like, yeah, right, this is dumb. Because Zenestra, after her big magic thing, like disappeared and then just like into her tower and then just was never seen again. She's gone. So Pontifex Zenestra is just MIA. She's just missing. She got all weak and thin and tired and then just disappeared. And then the city got destroyed. Overrun.
She's like a Zine Cheese simulacra or something.
Who knows? Whatever it is, whatever she is or was, she's gone now. But like, you know, she'll be back theoretically. Hey, thanks Average Joe for the super chat. I appreciate it. Since story time is the best time, it definitely deserves a super chat. Keep up the amazing work. Absolutely. Thank you, Average Joe. So that's what happened with Embergard. It's dead. Verdigris is still alive, by the way. The city did survive. They managed to it's wrecked, but it's there. The inner city is still okay. It had some fighting in it. The outer city is completely trashed, but it lived and they're rebuilding. So that's cool.
Crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't believe it in the end. That was the one that lived. I mean, you know, what a thought. The crazy religious one built on a built on the back of a undead necropolis didn't survive. I mean, who would have guessed?
Weird.
Okay, Isilia Thorian, the leader of Verdigris, however, she's gone. She's gone full native. The hunt has called her. Like, there's a really, actually, let's see if I can find it, because this is actually worth finding. There is a cool picture of her in here. Yeah, there you go. Check that out. She has, like, these big, massive horns that have grown out of her head. Okay, this is her now. All right? And she's gone, like, full Sylvaneth, and she runs off into the woods to chase the horn and join the hunt. It's like a cool, so that's the end of, like, it's not the end of her story, but it's the end of her as the leader of Within Cities. She's gone to join Sylvaneth. So, that's neat. Phoenicium is now called Blackpire, and it's a Chaos Stronghold for the Varangard. Abraxia, cell phone dials up Archeon again. He's like, oh, come on, lady. I got stuff to do. And he's just like, and she's like, she's still like on fire. She's emulating, but regenerating, right? From the staff that she has in her hands.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've burned out the madness. And he's like, you burned it back. For now. And he's just very dismissive of her. It's very funny. He's like, look, I got other stuff going on. I got other irons in the fire. Okay. Maybe just deal with some stuff and stop calling me. And then he shows up and he's like, you endured. There was neither regard nor disdain, a statement of fact. That's Archeon talking. Burned it back, perhaps, the Everchosen said. Yeah. And, he's got other stuff he wants to do. Concern yourself not with my designs, nor what I use to achieve them. Yeah.
He's like, you go work on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to go do my thing for a while.
Yeah, I'm going to do me, you do you. Stop calling me. Okay. Paul says Abraxia is the meeting could have been an email personified. It really is. Their conversation is like, this could have been an email. Okay. I told you to do stuff. Just do it. And then we end on Ionis. This was actually a pretty meaningful scene. We end with Ionis, who has swooped down. Like, Cole is MIA. No one knows where he is.
Yeah.
He either exploded or transformed or whatever. Spoilers, obviously, he became some sweet new massive demon figure that we're going to get whenever we get a Corn book, obviously, right?
Yep.
But, like, at the moment in the story, he's
missing.
MIA. Yeah. Dead or gone or whatever.
Yep. Sure, Harrow is reality split.
He was reality split. He did not go back to Azir. And so Vandus did not die in that explosion. Ionis, his old friend and compatriot, swoops down and finds him, like one of the last people. He's still alive. He has not gone back to Azir. All the other Stormcast did in the battle. And he picks up Vandus, and Vandus is just like, he's gone. He's completely gone. Like, he's broken, right? He's like ranting about the Lightning Man coming to get him, and which is a thing that Vandus has always talked about. Like, in his visions, he sees the Lightning Man coming for him. And he's just completely off the deep end. He'll be like completely catatonic one moment, and then he tries to strangle Ionis the next, and so on and so forth. Like, and Ionis just likes to use magic and calms him down and puts him on the back of his big mount and flies him back to Azir. And the scene picks up with them in like some lower dungeon, basically, of Azir. And he takes Vandus and puts him in a cage, and Vandus is just like screaming about the Lightning Man. And there's like lightning arcing all over him. Like he can't control it anymore, and it's just like arcing out to the bars, and the bars are like magically hold him. And he steps back and he's like, "Is this? Did you?" And he says something like, "Did you know, Sigmar? Did you know this would be the cost, right?" And when you did it. And I want to get the line right here, because it was pretty cool. Just flip to it real quick here. Here we go. The Lord Relictor resisted the urge to slump in weariness. He could not resist his compulsion to rest a hand on the cold metal of the prison and sigh. It may yet not be too late for you, old friend, Ionis said. Slowly his fingers made a fist. Did you know, my God King? Did you know what awaited us? Did you think it necessary? Stepping back, Ionis let the dirges wash over him. He tilted his gaze upwards. Hundreds of other cells lined the bleak walls, each a mirror of Vandus's. Behind some, lightning flickered. So, like, this is where all the broken Stormcast are kept in cells, because they can't be reforged anymore. And he just says, "I, then so be it." All right? These little interstitials are always actually the most interesting. Like, it's Ionis, he's clearly on this mission to stop the reforging from tearing people apart, and now his best friend has fallen prey to this fate, right? But he wants to save him. And that's where the story ends. So there you go. It was fun.
And it's actually interesting because, like, one of the stories that we were told when he was reintroduced, right, when Ionis was reintroduced, is that he hadn't been reforged yet. Right.
Yeah, that dude's been around.
He's been around for effectively like hundreds of years at this point and hasn't been reforged. And it's interesting. Like, it allows us to both, like, two people who were of the same kind of caliber introduced initially, right? Yeah. The two different trajectories based on the reforging process. It's a nice twist.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's story time, everybody. There you go. We wrapped up book 6. It happened. I hope you all enjoyed. It's a bunch of dumb people who did a dumb thing, all for pointlessness. But some of the interstitials were good. Like, I really like... I wish we would just get the Ionis and Vanda story. Like, you asked at the beginning, what's the kind of arc? Like, tell that story. Those two characters are compelling. Like, Ionis is interesting. His interactions with Vandus are interesting, right? Like, a lot of the interstitials throughout this whole thing have been interesting. The actual main plot is so dumb and so clearly, transparently just, like, set to the marketing of what armies they canceled or what figs they introduced, right? It's just, like, it's so transparently shallow storytelling. But whenever they do the interstitial stuff that's, like, them working with characters that they actually, like and respect and have been around as part of the Age of Sigmar fabric for a while, they're really good. Like, they actually have a bead on those characters. And sometimes we get cool people like Gunnar and stuff like that. Like, Gunnar was cool. I want to read more. Like, I don't know if he's in a book. Somebody who's in the audience, you might be able to tell me. Have they done a book with the Dark Oath, like with Gunnar's tribe? Have they actually done a novel or a short story or something of him? Because if so,
there was a Dark Oath book, but I don't know if that was with Gunnar or not.
If there was, I'd totally read it. Like, he was super cool and interesting. So if he's written like that in the book, I think it'd be a worthwhile read. Again, there's another character. Like, you could do a story where he's like a Dark Oath and they're going on some kind of journey, right? Like, that'd be another cool story. So yeah. There you go. Yeah, they could release a book that is basically Ionis's journal. Could be pretty cool. Yeah, that'd be fun. So there you go. It's called Dark Oath, I believe. Okay, cool. Is Gunnar like a main character in there? Is he the main focus of the story? If so, I'll have to check that out. That feels like a worthwhile read. That got my interest, that couple pages. There you go. It was all worth it, Tom. It took us 6 books, but we got to an interesting character.
I mean, I don't know that I would say it was all worth it, but but I'm thankful that it was at least engaging and interesting, at least for the wrap up.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, there you go. Hit like, hit subscribe, do all those things that make all those dings. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, chat. A lot of good feedback tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. If you want to support the show, lots of ways you can do so. Obviously, you can do all those free things, and it's deeply appreciated. So please do click those buttons. Helps other people find the show. But also, there's links down there. There's so many fun links. There's affiliate links you can click to pick up your hobby supplies. It often saves you money. There is our merch store down there. There's Uncle Adam and I's skirmish books. I'd love it if you tried one of our games out. Don't forget Death Wizards, our newest game, is out now. You can check all that out. And of course, there's our Patreon focused on review and feedback and taking your next step on your hobby journey. As always, though, hey, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Big crew tonight. Really appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed the rants, the thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Drop your own thoughts to anything we said down in the comments below. But as always, don't forget next week is Nova. And as always, see you next Wednesday.